Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
It comes to
Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
It's been special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
You know, it'd be the best way to do the show is for us to do it together. Yeah, together.
We've been doing it together for about, what, 4 years? 3
4 years?
3.5 years?
Yeah, almost 4 years.
Yeah.
July will be 4 years.
4 years. July will be here before you know it.
And since we've been together doing shows,
Yeah,
we've had injuries.
we have.
Lots of injuries.
Lots of injuries.
I mean, we could just go over the last calendar year, some of the injuries we've had. We can go back to 21 when I got here, and Haynes got hurt in game 2, play 2. We can continue.
The backs got hurt. And then
It's been, Le'Veon this year.
Le'Veon got hurt.
Braden Montgomery.
Braden Montgomery. Oh, that was
Shane Sadeo.
Shane Sadeo.
Good God. I know there's more.
There is more.
And yesterday we found out, unfortunately, terrible news. Gavin Grahovac's done for the year, shoulder injury. I don't know if we got too specific, but props to Ryan Brauninger for breaking that story yesterday. I wish he didn't break it because I wish it wasn't true, but he did have the info.
Yeah, look, what I always say about Lucci and A&M football, if he says it about football, you
go to the bank.
It's like the burning bush.
Yeah.
And it's almost the same with Brauninger on baseball. He's on top of it, both he and Zane. And it's so disappointing for, first of all, for Gavin. He's, I'm sure, really excited about the prospects of this season, but he's been trying to play hurt and get through it. And it just goes to show how serious this injury must be, that, this guy's really trying, but just can't. So hopefully he has a full recovery and comes back next year and plays at the highest level ever.
Yep. So let's not minimize, not that you are, let's not minimize this loss. This is probably your second best player, offensive player.
Yeah, well, not hurt. He's not.
Right. But like a guy that is expected to be a top 10 pick in the MLB draft. And again, how many first round picks are going to get hurt for? Braden last year.
Yeah.
I forget what he went in the draft, between 6 and 10, somewhere in that range. But whatever he ended up going, we're talking about all level players in not even a year going down.
But here's the deal. They lost Braden Montgomery, and it was a big loss. But the team
rallied
and almost won the national championship. Mm-hmm. And now you have to rally and maybe even have to take a different approach to winning. Look, David, I don't follow A&M baseball except as a fan because I don't cover it, and I'm not a baseball expert, so I could be completely out of bounds. I could be out of left field.
Okay.
Right? But
we'd probably put you at right field.
The Little League coaches always did, batting ninth and right. But, maybe you should look at trying to win more with speed than power because you got a lot of fast guys, right?
Yeah.
Who knows? Your
offense should still be fine.
You're not the number one team in the country because of one guy. As good as he is, and he's not, he's, how do I say this? He's not the Gavin Grahovac we expect him to be because he's hurt, you know? So is the next guy going to make them a better team than an injured Gavin Grahovac? Probably. And it's just, a team is a lot of players.
So let's hope we get Caden Sorrell back real soon.
Another injury. Yeah, get Caden Sorrell back. But again, I'll be really interested to see how Coach Early juggles the lineup.
Yep. Last year, Grahovac broke the record that Jace started, or broke, I should say, of freshman home runs. He hit 23 home runs last year, which was an A&M record. This year, not off to a huge start, 227 batting average, but he did have a couple of home runs and 6 RBIs. So,
but that tells you, I mean, guys playing with a injured shoulder and hitting
still has a couple bombs, right?
I mean, that tells you the kind of player he is.
His father did tweet he'll be back. I hope that's the case next year. I expect it to be the case. So now we turn the page. Coach Early, I'm sure, has, like, you know, you can't lick your wounds for too long. What are we going to do now? And tonight, they got a game against Texas State.
Which, to my understanding, I know historically they're a pretty good program, but to my understanding, they're off to a pretty good start. Is that not right? So, yeah, that'll be a good test.
Yeah. It's always a good test midweek with them. But considering what happened in the last game, considering that Grahovac's down for the year, considering that Caden Sorrell, we're still waiting on his return. Hopefully, if not this weekend, in the next couple. I hope it is this weekend. But yeah, they got to turn the page and move on.
Yeah, and again, it's going to be really intriguing to see how Coach Early decides. I mean, your first-year coach, first-time head coach. What a tough situation to be in. But I mean, talk about an opportunity to prove yourself. And how are you going to respond?
As a sports fan, I've almost become, all right, what's going to happen? Like what? And I'm not talking just A&M sports in general. Like, what's going to happen to change up the way the vibe? What's going to change with football? A couple things happen, right? You get the Le'Veon injury, and then your tackling issues become, I feel like, even more obvious, right? But it feels with every basketball, we haven't had, knock on wood, anything major other than who you are shows up sometimes. You're not a great shooting three-point team.
Lost Wade for a couple of games,
right? But you were able to navigate through that. And hopefully in 2 weeks, in a month, 6 weeks from now, we're talking about how A&M has navigated so well without Gavin Grahovac.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? This baseball team, it seems to me, looking from the outside, that they could win a lot of games just on pitching.
Yeah.
Now, that bullpen is the area of concern.
Still a question, yeah.
But I wouldn't panic, because a guy who was, pitching really well in junior college last year had a moment where he didn't protect the lead. Well, I think that's a learning experience.
Sure.
Hey, okay, I'm in a different level of ball, so I got to maybe change the approach. But I think they can still win a lot of games on pitching. Still got a good lineup, especially when Sorrell gets back. So I don't look. Are you better? Are you a better team without a healthy Gavin Grahovac? No, you're not. But are you still good enough to be a championship caliber team? Yes,
I think so as well. And by the way, I don't care. I think even Billy said it on the show. We've said this is a common line, but I don't care whether we're number one right now.
No.
I want to be number one at the end of the year. And I don't care that A&M basketball dropped to number 12. I just want them to win some games going into the SEC tournament.
Yeah, again, we talked about this yesterday. It's not that you lost those 2 games in a row. It's the way you've lost. But look, all year, they've never lost more than 2 in a row, right? So they need to get that
squared away.
Prevent a winning streak or a losing streak continuing against Vanderbilt. But I don't understand a level of panic, I guess, or giving up by some on our boards because you lost a closely fought game against Tennessee, which might be a 1 seed, definitely be a 2 seed, or a road game in the SEC.
Had they beat Tennessee, the vibes would be better, no doubt, right? Vibes would be better. But would you still have the same questions about, man, if we don't hit threes one day, we're going to lose a game? Would you still have those same questions?
Yes.
Yeah. So the win or the loss doesn't change the way I look at what this team can do. What it does is it just makes me grumpy for right now, and I focus on the negative as opposed to focus on what they've done in totality.
Yeah, I'm almost at the point. Look, and I get it. As you lose, if you don't finish the regular season strong and then get into the SEC tournament, you don't play well, I'm going to be more concerned about what happens in the tournament. But really, at this point, I'm already thinking about the the success of this season is going to be based on what they do in March Madness.
If they don't make it to the second weekend, I wouldn't say it was a failure. I'm not saying that at all. But it wouldn't be.
It'd be a disappointment.
It would be a disappointment. Yeah.
Right.
So to me, it still, had they beat Tennessee or lost to Tennessee, it still comes down to if they hit their free throws and their threes against whoever they play in the tournament, I like their chances. If they miss, it doesn't matter if they're playing Little Sisters of the Poor or if they're playing Tennessee. They're probably going to lose.
Yeah, they're definitely vulnerable. And if you don't have just a miserable night from three-point range, then you probably win. If you have a bad night, you probably win. But they had a miserable night.
Yeah.
So,
but that's unfortunately
that happens. They're a very streaky team,
and in more than just 3-point shooting, because they have miserable days at the free throw line, and they have days where they hit 18 of 20, whatever it was against
Tennessee. It was 18. That's what it was.
So like there are days like, who is this team that can hit the free throws? Oh, they can't hit any threes. And then there's days you're like, they'll shoot another three, and then they make 3 in a row, right? So they are streaky. That's who they are. One thing you know, they're going to play tough defense. They're going to get every loose rebound that they can get, loose ball. And that has not changed because of their loss to Tennessee. It just feels worse. That's it.
Yeah, look, I'm going to expect them to beat Vanderbilt. If they don't, I'm going to be disappointed. But I know they're still going to the NCAA tournament. And that's what I mean. Ultimately, if you win out, if you win the rest of your games, you're still going to be judged by what happens in the NCAA tournament.
100%. And by the way, if they do beat Vandy, I'm not saying I'm predicting them to beat Florida, but I think the vibes around the program are like, you know what, we might go on the road and beat Florida.
Yeah, they might.
If you lose
Florida
to Vandy,
looks like a national championship caliber team.
But if you lose to Vandy, you're thinking, oh my God, this might be 4 losses in a row. Who's this character I'm making? I like him. I like this guy.
Yeah,
I bet he likes to go fishing.
Probably does. Yeah, probably goes noodling.
Maybe.
You know what noodling is?
No, I have no idea.
You know what noodling is over there? All right, noodling is, those huge catfish.
Yeah.
You get like I
should know this.
Okay. All folks in East Texas will know this. You go into the Sabine River or some pond.
Big boots?
No. You find a hole because catfish like to
go in the hole. And
you just put your arm down there, move it around a little bit, and the catfish thinks it's something to eat, and he grabs onto your arm, and you lift your arm out, and there may be a 50-pound.
You have a glove, right?
No, you just reach down there.
Wait, your hand?
With your hand, move it around.
And it bites your hand.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have teeth. And then you just pull it out.
It's still weird. It's in their mouth.
And you just pull it out of the water and throw it on. So, noodling David Nuño.
So
David Noodling.
I like
Noodling Nuño.
I go to the fishing meetings. We haven't gotten to that part of it yet. So when I go,
I want to hear from everybody who's been noodling.
I guarantee you, Steve Nagley's listening to this right now. Like, dude.
Oh, Steve Nagley was born noodling.
He was born in the catfish.
I mean, he's at White House, so I think you're required to noodle before you can graduate from.
I'm embarrassed. I didn't know. Did you know this? Yeah. I bet you Nick Savage did. We'll talk about it here in a moment. It's 13 minutes into the show. I haven't told the people what we're listening to. Do you think they know?
Noodling Live? No, it's TexAgs Live.
TexAgs Live presented by?
David Gardner Jewelers.
Yeah. David and Gardner and Jewelers.
Yeah, David Gardner. Yeah, David and Julia.
Yeah, they're great. And in this awesome coliseum of a studio that we call
the Rollo Insurance Studio.
Yeah.
Jason Rollo's been noodling.
Oh, maybe this morning. And this particular hour, we give this hour a name because it's always off the rails. It's called the
Go Hour.
Presented by
CC Creations.
Thank you very much. And in this section, if we had a pond.
The paint.
If we had a lake here, we would probably go noodling.
Right here.
But we'd call the area
the cool zone. The cool noodling zone. No, the
holistic
cool zone.
Planning noodling cool zone.
Cool zone, right. You know what they can help you with besides noodling? What? The sign's not there. But I can tell you what, they can help you with your investments.
Yeah.
Tax time's coming up. They can help you with your taxes. And, of course, your estate planning. And a part of that estate planning could be investing in pro sports.
I would invest
professional noodling.
I would. That's where I would go. I would invest in a pro noodling team. I want that catfish just to get all in my hand.
Yeah. And then yank him out of the water.
Just fist deep. All right. Let's tell the people the number of the call. 979-693-1150. That is the Buppy's Catering hotline. Call that number. We'll pick it up. You can text that number as well. We go around the room. We say hi to the people. Behind the glass is Nick Savage. Have you gone noodling? Did you know about the noodling community?
I didn't. No, I've never been noodling.
Do you know what noodling was before I said so?
No, I did not.
Why are you laughing?
He's not from East Texas.
You know, the interesting part is, I think I knew after you started talking about it, but I'm like, maybe I didn't. It was like one of those, like, this sounds familiar. I feel like maybe we covered it in season 2 of the meetings.
There's a real pretty girl on YouTube that goes noodling.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. You've seen it. Yeah.
What, did you just Google it right now?
No, I've seen it before. And I did know what noodling is. I just didn't know by the name.
Oh. So you didn't know noodling. Anywho.
I forgot what I was going to say.
Yeah, just say anything at this point, please. Hello.
Yeah, that's what I was going to talk about. Gavin Grahovac, again, sucks he goes down, but it's going to be fun to see the new guys get a chance to step up. Sawyer Farr, we saw Bronny tweet out, and we'll hear from him later on in the show, but Sawyer Farr, probably going to see White Hensler move over to that side of the field. So just a chance for other guys to step up. And again, it's a big blow, but a chance for opportunity for other guys.
Look, let's judge it when it's all said and done, right? Let's enjoy the ride right now. Right now, it feels like it's going a little down. They're going to fix it this week, and we're going to start filling up again.
That's right. Look, again, they're not a better team without a healthy Grahovac, but they may be a better team without an injured Grahovac, if you know what I mean. I'm just saying the next guy you put out there is probably going to be better because he's not hurt.
He's not hurt. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. But before we do that, we're going to be going to the Angry Elephant on Saturday, the one in Cyprus.
Yes.
Do we have any Cyprus listeners out there? I don't know. Do you think they listen to us in Cyprus?
Oh, heck yeah.
I know they listen to us in Alaska. I would assume in Cyprus.
A couple of years ago, we had a guy who's a listener from Cyprus drove up here and brought us some pie.
Well, he best
chocolate pie.
He better bring it and meet us at the Angry Elephant in Cyprus, because we're going to do a meet and greet, Q&A, chit chat, watch sports, 4 to 6 p.m. Angry Elephant in Cyprus.
Looking forward to it. Love to talk to the TexAgers out there.
If you're in Sugar Land, 30-minute drive, maybe longer, but let's just pretend it's shorter. If you're in Tomball, if you're in the Heights,
Jersey Village,
doesn't matter. You can get there quickly.
Hempstead, Waller,
big Waller guy.
Come on, that's where Fresh Corn's from.
Yeah,
Waller.
So just come hang out with us 4 to 6, and we'll probably be there before or a little bit after. But that's the meet and greet part of it. So hopefully you can come hang out with us at the Angry Elephant there in Cyprus. Reed Neal. Hello, Reed.
How's it going, guys?
What's up, buddy?
Not much. So this weekend we have some golf news.
Okay.
So last week we had Coach Chadwell on, and he talked about wanting to improve the team's performance this week, and he did just that with the number ranked 17 Texas A&M women's golf team shooting their lowest round in program history, or tying for their lowest round in program history, going for 16 under 272.
So they're entering the final round today, right?
Yes, yeah. I believe they tee off at 8:40.
Okay.
Freshman Vanessa Boravilos fired 10 under 134 and was at the top of the player leaderboard heading into today. And then also Cayetana Fernandez Garcia Pojillo.
We call her Gata.
Okay. And she also turned in an incredible 2 rounds at 8 under 136.
Wow.
Not bad. Not bad. What else do you have for us?
Along with women's tennis, we beat the number 11 Texas Longhorns 4-3.
All right. Came from behind, right?
We did, yeah. We were down early, 3-0, and then Mia Kupris came back to capture the first point, sweeping on court 2, 6-3, 6-3. Lexington Reed followed up with a 7-5, 7-5 victory on court 5 for her 16th win of the season, cutting the lead down to just 1 point. And then number 55, Luciana Perez, tied the score at 3-3 in a tight battle on court 3, winning 7-6 and then 7-6 again for her 10th win of the season and her second ranked victory. And then Daria Smetnikov completed the Aggie comeback on court 4, going 6-4, 1-6, and then 6-4 again for her team high 21st victory of the season.
Wow.
And her second ranked win.
Reed, when we come back, we'll do the performance of the week. If you have any candidates, make sure you pipe in, all right? OB, a performer of the week should eat like a king or a queen.
You know where you can go to eat like a king or a queen?
I do know a place. It's on the way to Snook, kind of.
Yeah. 1775.
It's a great year because that's when
the United States, well, the colonies, put together the military to fight the king and queen.
Yeah, that's right. But our king and queen can eat.
Well, I even think their king and queen would have said, if you're going to make barbecue like that, then we'll just...
It's fine.
Here's
the white flag.
Have your country.
Yeah, enjoy it.
Yeah, but they didn't know because there was no Texas yet, so there was no yet Texas barbecue. And as we know, Texas barbecue is one of the greatest fairs, fair meaning food, that you can have. And if you want to get the best of it, man, you go to 1775.
I know you love succulent brisket.
Succulent brisket. Yeah, I do.
What else do you love?
Well, I love the jalapeno cheese sausage. Yeah, I love pork ribs.
Yeah, who doesn't?
Yeah, I love pork ribs.
I can't I can't go noodling with somebody if they don't get pork ribs.
I love macaroni, the queso mac and cheese.
Yeah.
I wonder, they don't
diet.
do catfish, but I bet if they smoke some catfish that you noodle, I bet it'd be amazing.
They can do whatever.
Everything they have is amazing. Turkey, pulled pork, noodled catfish.
You name it. They're open Thursday through Saturday, 11 a.m. until they're sold out. Online ordering turns off at 10 a.m. It is 1775 txbbq.com. The phone number, 979-492-6241.
Love it.
What's up, TexAgs? This commercial break is brought to you by my good friends over at Aggieland Chevrolet, the official automotive sponsor of TexAgs.com and me, Billy Lucci. Greg Gunn is the proud owner of Aggieland Chevrolet and invites you to visit the dealership to experience true Aggie hospitality. From their friendly staff to the experienced service team, Aggieland Chevrolet is TexAgs approved. Check out the dealership off of Highway 6 in Bryan or go to AggielandChevrolet.com and tell them Billy Lucci sent you by.
We are 1,000 miles from the College World Series, but it's all right.
Yeah, Omaha's probably not quite 1,000, but probably close to that. It might be, you know what, it might even be more than 1,000.
Really? How long did it take you? 14 hours to drive there?
Yeah, something along those lines. Huh. Reed, look up how far College Station is to Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah.
I bet it's
you guys have done the drive.
I bet it's, yeah, but I wasn't checking
Because I think when we went to Memphis, I think that was a 12-hour drive?
Memphis, 11 to be exact.
Okay.
Maybe Memphis was 8. No, it's probably 11. But yeah,
we know nothing.
I'm saying over 1,000 miles.
As a reminder, the final segment of the program is brought to you by Double Dave's. That's at 10:50. But right now, caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We're going to hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been serving Aggieland since 1984 with your favorite pizza and, of course, those world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com and your favorites are on their way. Reed, how far is the drive?
12 hours and 5 minutes, 825 miles.
Less than 1,000 miles.
We can make it, and we can get lost.
So you'd have to, if we get 1,000 miles, we'd probably somewhere in South Dakota.
Yep. Let's do performance of the week, shall we?
Okay.
I'm going to start it off.
Okay.
And I think this is the easiest one. A&M softball. The weekend that they had.
Yeah.
They swept Florida State, Florida A&M. It was a fantastic weekend, 5-0. And Maya Perez was named the SEC Co-Player of the Week. She went 9 of 17, 3 home runs, 1 double, and 11 RBIs. Is that good, OB?
That's excellent.
And here's another one for you. Sydney Lessentine. I am shocked. I remember when Richard yelled it yesterday. I don't know if he yelled it, but he said it out loud that she did not win SEC Freshman of the Week or Newcomer of the Week, whatever how do you not win it when you strike out a record 19 Rattlers in an 11-2 win? She struck out 19 of the 25 batters that stepped in the box against her.
That would be the Rattlers from Florida
A&M. Yeah. I don't know how you can be better than 19 strikeouts. I'm sorry, I just don't.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of strikeouts. I guess you could get 20, but that's not going to happen often. What are you, in 7 innings?
Yeah.
So of 21 batters, she's going to.
Yeah, and she struck out the first 5 batters, too.
Injustice
League. All right, and I'm going to do one more, and you can throw in somebody if you want. A&M women's tennis. They beat Texas twice in 15 days. We talked about in the
They pulled that one out like a noodle and catfish.
Yes, they did. And they did it without a couple of their best players. Are you familiar with Mary Stoyana?
I am.
She's amazing. And Jeanette Morales. So a couple of their best players were not there, and they still
beat the Longhorns.
Yeah. You have anybody you want to throw in there? Basketball didn't have a great week.
No, they didn't. I can't give you the names. First of all, if I did have the names, I would probably mispronounce them.
Yeah.
But I thought I saw that men's track and field. They finished the indoor regular season with a school record in the, I don't know, it's like some kind of medley relay or something. Got a school record. I couldn't tell you.
I bet you Reed Neal is quick with the digits and can figure that information out. You have some of the track and field notes in front of you?
Not in front of me, but I can pull them up.
Pull some of those because I know they had a great weekend, and we're going to have Coach Henry on the show, and we'll chit-chat with him all things. We won't have him on today. While he's looking that up, you want an update on who's on the show today?
Yeah, let's hear it.
A few minutes from now, Charean Williams from Indy.
Yeah.
She's
from Orange, Texas.
She's awesome.
She might have been noodling.
Josh Pate, familiar with his game?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Josh Pate.
People love Josh Pate.
I love his take on college football. Very unbiased.
Are you familiar with Ryan Brauninger's baseball thoughts?
I am. Like I said, if it's about A&M baseball, nobody knows it better than him, unless it's Richard Zay.
We're going to pound the rock later with Luke Evangelist. He talks basketball with us.
Okay.
He's all right. We love Luke. 10:19. Blaire Anderson, the A&M the A&M swimming and diving coach, will be with us on the show. Talk about the SECs from this past weekend, and then after that, Dr. John Thornton.
Oh, the good doctor,
the very good doctor.
Yeah, we just have him on. We always played "I've Been in the Right Place at the Wrong Time" by Dr. John. See,
Dr. John
Thornton. Yeah,
well, we might have to.
That was like his walk-up music.
What would be your walk-up song?
Oh, hey, good looking.
Well, I said you, not me. Reed, you got any track and field thoughts for us?
So Will Williams, who he won the indoor track and field championships on Sunday at the Ocean Breeze Complex. Brandon Miller had another impressive day on the track with a career best mark of 144.26 on the men's 800, which he finished second place. And then women's track, Samira Kilbrew wrapped up the meet, finishing fifth in the women's 60-meter final with a best time of 7:25.
All right. Thank you very much, Reed. We appreciate that. We'll hit a break here. We'll come back. We'll talk to Charean Williams. Right now, we're talking about Heritage Films. The website is yourheritagefilm.com. They make documentary films about families, family businesses, family ranches. They take care of families by telling their story. If you've got a family story, there's no if to it. Your family has a story. Let Chance tell that family story, whatever it may be, about how you started your family business, your family ranch, some activities you do as a family. Whatever your family story is, Chance can put it together in a 2-hour documentary film that you can watch as a family and share that for generation after generation. He is top-notch, does a great, great job. We're talking a Netflix-style documentary that your family's going to be able to cherish and enjoy together. The website is yourheritagefilm.com, yourheritagefilm.com, 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341. We are back, TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Wallow Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Buppy's Catering Hotline. That's where we find Charean Williams of Pro Football Talk, the Aggie great Hall of Famer, who's in Indianapolis getting ready to do some interviews. Charean, good morning.
Good morning. How are we doing? A little busy here today.
Busy on all accounts. A little sad here with the way Aggie basketball went, and then the sad news yesterday of Gavin Grahovac's season being done in Aggie baseball.
Yeah, it wasn't that great of a week, was it? Softball brought us through, and tennis beat Texas, so a couple good things happened. But yeah, it's just unfortunate with Gavin that he's not going to be there for the rest of the season and get that shoulder healed and get back for next year, so he can do what Brady Montgomery did last year and lead the team to the dugout, be emotional support, and I think that really helped A&M last year, and hopefully he helps them in that way, and any other way he can help them this year.
So what are you doing in Indianapolis today?
I'll say it again.
What are you doing in Indianapolis today?
Well, we have coaches and GMs today. I think there's probably, there's more than that, because there's 29 GMs are talking. I think only a couple of those are tomorrow. So we got about 28 GMs talking today, 27, and probably about that many coaches talking. So we're over 50 interviews starting at 10 o'clock and going up until 5 o'clock. So just a busy day with, this is probably the busiest day for me just because it's NFL coaches and GMs. So you're talking about particularly, so the Giants are coming up at 10 a.m. So obviously you're talking about their quarterback situation. So those teams without quarterbacks, looking for quarterbacks, what are they going to do at quarterback? I think are all the big teams that I'll be hitting on this morning, try to figure out what they're going to say about their quarterback situation. Those are some of the biggest things. But, then you have the Myles Garrett thing. Washington just gave Jonathan Allen's agent permission to go seek a trade for Jonathan Allen. And, they may have an eye on Myles Garrett with that trade, opening up some money and opening up, cap space and all those sorts of things. So, a lot of those things will happen this week, too. Agents will start talking to teams about extensions. Cowboys are talking about a few right now and sound like they're going to be more aggressive in free agency as well.
Let's hope. Hey, Charean, how much tread is still on the Myles Garrett tires?
I think he's still in the prime of his career. Now, I'm not giving him a 10-year contract, but, I think a 4-year probably extension is about right for him. And you can get 4 to 5 more prime years out of him. Who knows? The way he trains, it may be longer than that. So, hopeful that he can get tread, have a lot of tread left on those tires. I just wrote one yesterday about Von Miller and what the Bills might do. He has no guaranteed money left on his contract, $17 million cap hit. He's not going to play for that. But he cut his salary in half last year. He played for $8 million salary, cut it in half to stay in Buffalo. I think there's a chance that might happen again because that gives him a chance to win a third Super Bowl ring, something that we all know he desires. And as Sean McDermott said yesterday, he's a leader in the locker room, and he loves Von and the way he works and teaches the younger pass rushers, how to get it done. So there's value even when guys, that's to my point, to the Myles Garrett point, there's value in guys even when some of the tread is off the tires later in their careers if they're like a Von Miller and can teach edge rushers and kind of be that coach on the field and leader in the locker room and all those things that also go into it without making the really huge salary. So he is going to have to take a pay cut somewhere. I think Von Miller will play another season in the NFL after 6 sacks last season. And I think Myles Garrett will end up somewhere else with a good team and a chance to win a Super Bowl and a few more years of a lot more sacks.
Charean, what's going to happen to a couple of high-profile quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers and Matthew Stafford, considering Aaron Rodgers is looking for a job and Matthew Stafford, might have some options out there?
Yeah, Stafford's going to cost you, obviously, in a trade. You're going to have to give up some significant trade value, and he's obviously at the end of his career, late 30s. But I like Stafford. He obviously showed this year he can still throw the football, still make good decisions, all those things, still play at a high level. if I'm a team that thinks I've got a chance to do something, I'm probably going to go see what it would take to trade for Matthew Stafford. Now, Aaron Rodgers is going to be free. He's, probably going to be as a free agent, and you can go get him for whatever you think you can get him for, and it's not going to cost you any draft compensation. So that's the value in Aaron Rodgers. He still throw the football. His mobility is absolutely gone. It's shot, and that's the problem with him. But he can still throw the football. So again, I think it's going to be a team maybe that feels like it's right there on the edge and, ready to contend. So you look at a team like the Steelers, would they go after one of those guys, or would they go back and re-sign Justin Fields? They've got a big decision, I think, ahead of them of what they're going to do at that position. But, I feel like Rodgers is, I didn't feel like he'd get a chance. And now with the way the draft prospects have gone with, teams not thinking that these guys can step right in and play, I think there's a chance that Aaron Rodgers could end up playing for somebody. And look at, Raiders are going to be a team to watch too with Tom Brady. Who are they going to get at quarterback? Who's Brady going to entice to come there and try to win? And it could be a rookie, but I do think they'll look at the veteran market too and see what's out there and what's available, and maybe one of those guys fits them. So Raiders may be the most interesting team in this whole deal with what they do with the quarterback position. Do you get a bridge quarterback, or do you draft one, or do you do both?
Hey, Charean, so you said you thought the Cowboys would be active. So you were pretending you're the GM. I wish you already were for real. But what are some targets? And then second part of this question is how active do you think the Texans will be in free agency?
Yeah, I just did our top 100, and it came out yesterday, and it's a really horrible class of free agents. I mean, it's really not good. Not like last year where, Saquon Barkley, you can sign him and it's automatically gonna improve you. And it's at some positions that aren't prime position. I mean, Trey Smith, for instance, probably the top free agent on the market with what he's done. But he plays guard. So, somebody's going to overpay for Trey Smith, and they're going to end up with a really good guard, but they're going to pay a lot of money for a really good guard. So it's really not a good class of free agents, but, they say they're going to be selectively aggressive, which, whatever that means. And Stephen Jones also mentioned trades. Now, they made a couple trades 2 years ago that were actually really good trades in Brandon Cooks and Stephon Gilmore. So, maybe they go that route too, and that may be a better route for some of these teams even than go in the free agent market with it not being so great. But I do think the Cowboys will be more active than they were last year. I think the Texans will be about as active as they were last year. I think they'll look, especially at the receiver position, and maybe it's re-signing Stephon Diggs, but I do think they'll get a veteran receiver somewhere, and there are some pretty good veteran receivers there.
Talking to Charean Williams here on TexAgs Live. Charean, Shedeur Sanders, what's the vibe around him? Because I feel like they kind of cleaned it up towards the end of the season. Colorado as an enterprise, not that Shedeur represents them per se, but not going to be doing anything at the combine. Just what's the vibe around with Shedeur?
Yeah, well, I think Cam Ward has kind of climbed and passed in most people's mind as the top quarterback in this draft, but a lot of people like Shedeur and think he can play. I think his pro day is going to be very important at Colorado, how he throws the ball. And so that's going to be key, for them to get a good look at him and see what they think. He's going to be an early pick. I mean, we all know that. Cam Ward's going to be an early pick. We all know that. Jackson Dart is probably going to go earlier. Or they're all going to go earlier than they should based on what their, rating is by all the scouts, because a lot of these guys aren't really first. I mean, people. All right, he's a first-round pick. I talked to one scout who has, I think, 16 players as graded as first-round picks this year, so it's just not a great draft for having, first-round pick. And none of them are quarterbacks, but yet we all know the quarterbacks are going to go in the first round. There's no question about that. A lot of them are going to go in the first round, more than should go in the first round. You're going to hit on some, you're going to miss on some. It's, even the scouts can't figure out how to judge these guys. And so maybe that's the answer. Maybe we just answer the question for them of, do you go and get a veteran quarterback, who you know what he can do, and maybe it's on his last legs, or do you get one of these young guys and roll the dice? And I think it depends on where you are. We're about to go talk to the Giants, okay? They've got 1 year left. If they don't win this year, they're going to be gone. They know that. So I would expect them to go to the veteran route to try to win this year. And maybe they think they're close, and that veteran quarterback can put them over the top. But I don't see them drafting a quarterback because they're not going to be able to develop him in 1 year.
And Charean, listen, we've all heard that Shamar Stewart is being looked at as a potential first-round draft choice. I would ask you, what are you hearing about guys like now about Nick Scorton and Shamar Turner?
Yeah, I think Scorton has a chance to go in the first round. You know, Turner being hurt is going to hurt him a little bit because he's, you know, how much is he going to get to show? He's not going to get to show it here. I'll be interested to get to talk to him, I think, tomorrow or the next day. So, yeah, I think both of them probably will be Scorton has a chance to be a first-round pick. I think he probably goes in the second round. And I think Turner probably goes on the second or third round. So I think, you know, only 3 guys at the combine, but I think all 3 of those guys are going to hear their name called in the first 2 days, which is significant. And then obviously Walter Nolan, I think, is going to be a first-round draft pick. Now, I think he's probably going to be lower than he thinks he should be, probably lower in the first round. But I do think he's a first-round draft pick as well.
Well, if he is, I hope he goes to a team I don't like.
Yeah, but think about that. You got 4 defensive linemen, and they could all go in the first 3 rounds of the draft.
Charean, great stuff. Enjoy Indy. We'll talk to you soon.
Say it again.
We'll talk to you soon. Enjoy Indy.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Charean Williams doing great work there from the Combine. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with a final segment. Right now, Bird Dog, Aggie-owned and operated company creating access to hunting opportunities. If you like to go hunting, reach out to Bird Dog. If you've thought about hunting, reach out to Bird Dog. If you own land and you're like, dude, I want some people on my land hunting, and you say the word dude, reach out to Bird Dog. Those are all great reasons. If you have land and you don't want hunters, and you're like, you know, I just want my land, I want to make some money on it, but I don't need hunters, reach out to Bird Dog because they're finding ways for landowners to optimize their money, make money on their lands by finding those tax benefits. So if you're farming or running cattle, Bird Dog will optimize your tax benefits, and some of their clients are making an extra $100 to $500 per acre of land. And if you're a ranch broker, you need to talk to them as they can help your buyer or your seller understand the additional ways to make money. You don't have to sell hunts with this program. Remember Bird Dog for all of your full-service hunting experiences. And for you landowners, let them make money for you on your land. It is birddogit.com, the website, birddogit.com. Check it out. Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations here on TexAgs Live. OB. Lance Zierlein, who covers the NFL for NFL.com and also is the talk show host in Houston, he had tweeted a couple weeks ago that the Texans were considering upgrading NRG or, getting a new stadium built. Newsweek, as of this, I guess it was yesterday, Texans considering relocation due to massive stadium renovation hurdle.
Huh.
Can you imagine that?
Where would they relocate to? San Antonio?
I don't know. I'm sure somebody would. I don't believe it to be the case.
No, because if it says for renovation
or new stadium, yeah. Apparently,
then it would only be a year or so. Or would they go over to Rice Stadium?
Or just leave Houston altogether?
Well, that's why I asked San Antonio.
Yeah, I don't know who would, but that's just I found that to be.
I find that to be negotiating ploy.
Yeah.
It's
like, especially considering
what's wrong with NRG.
Apparently, it's fallen behind in the 23 years it's been around.
I'd be interested to know why, how, because when I go there, quite frankly, I think it's a nice stadium.
It's nice. It's not as nice as the Cowboy Stadium. It's not as nice as the Vegas Stadium, but it's nice.
Right? Maybe they just clean the rats out of the Astrodome and go back over there.
I miss the Astrodome. I do
you miss the rats?
Not the rats. I do miss the Astrodome. But I find that interesting. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. OB and I will be hanging out at the Cypress location on Saturday, 4 to 6 p.m. Reed, Neal, you've got a comment for us.
Yeah, so I've got two, actually. So the Brad Cave on YouTube says, tonight's game will be interesting. Texas State is an upset-minded team. And then to follow up on that, another commenter said, the only ranked team Texas State has beat so far was Oklahoma State on a neutral site. They lost their series against Illinois at home this week, which they did lose 1-2, but they are at a 5-2 record for the season, which isn't bad.
They played 7 games and the only ranked team. if you're Texas State and you've beaten a ranked team, and
that's pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good.
That's pretty good. And you said they lost a game.
They lost a series.
They lost
a series, but won a game against Illinois.
Yeah, they won one game against Illinois.
Yeah,
it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, no, it's not supposed to be.
For what it's worth, Aiden Sims, right-hander, is going to make his collegiate debut for A&M tonight. So I think I remember hearing Coach Early say that they should expect to see a lot of arms tonight for the Aggies. So just, for what it's worth.
Hey, for what it's worth, a good TexAgger, faithful listener, Bill Vaughn, he text messaged me and saying noodling was outlawed in his family when his dad was bitten by a water moccasin in the Brazos. So avoid those Brazos River water moccasins.
They don't make special gloves for this operation?
I guess somebody has gloves, but I'm just saying to folks back in East Texas, maybe they go over the Lake of the Pines or the Sabine or Pond. Yeah. And the ones I knew, they just put their hand down there. They didn't put on a special glove.
I like to subscribe to the methodology. Typically, I like to be able to see what's in the water.
Well, you know what? But you've done the hunting with Bird Doggett.
Yeah.
And you've done some fishing with Steve Nagley.
Yeah.
I think noodling's next.
Noodling's next. If you get me the Iron Man outfit to go into the water. When we come back
on Rust.
Yeah. I'm sure there's one that they can do. When we come back, Josh Pate. Thank you, Obi. We're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio, hour number 2 of the program. Time to go to the Buffy's Catering Hotline for our weekly conversation with Josh Pate, brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Academy carries a wide selection of the best brands, including Easton, Rawlings, and Wilson. And at Academy, you can shop for the latest bats, gloves, cleats, clothing, protective gear, training equipment, and much more. Mr. Pate, good morning, buddy.
Good morning, sir. David, did you ever go to Chuck E. Cheese when you were growing up?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay. You remember the little curtains and the cartoon mice used to play music in front of it? This right here, strikingly similar to some of the curtain setting that I used to see on that stage. I'm not saying I got it from there. I'm not saying I didn't get it from there. I'm just saying as we came on air, I kept thinking, I've seen that somewhere. And the way the light reflects off of this curtain really gives me Chuck E. Cheese vibes.
Well, I was going to ask you, how many freaking studios do you have? Because every show you do it's a different background. Like, do you have this mansion, or are you like multiple studios? What's going on?
All right, let me answer those in order. Don't have a mansion. Secondly, the plural of studio is studii. It's not studios. From henceforth. And thirdly, no, I'm just in my kitchen. This just happens to be hanging over here near the wall.
Well, I wish I had that kind of kitchen, but all right, let's chit chat. By the way, I do want to ask you something, because typically I have Billy coming in here with his workout routine, Bronny coming in here telling me what he's working on. What is the Josh Pate split? What are you on right now?
Okay. You want to mix in 2 legs per week. So my rotation will be a 6-day rotation. I believe in legs, then chest, then arms, then legs again, then back, then shoulder. If you have to rest, which I personally don't ascribe to, but if you have to rest, mix in a rest day. That's why God gave you 7 to fit 6 into. And then you start it all over again. Cardio, you can if you want to. I've never been a big believer in mixing a ton of cardio in, so that's how I go about things. And then, David, you want to eat like 19 meals a day.
So you like it to eat every couple hours, and you're you're a macronutrient guy for sure, monitoring your fats, your carbs, and your fat and your proteins.
Yeah, but at the same time, man, like eat. Unless you have extremely slow metabolism. I was blessed with fairly fast metabolism, so I don't have to sit there and go down every label and make sure, that's 3% too high on the saturated fat intake. If it tastes good, I'm going to go for it. However, I will, and I can't take full credit for this. Maybe a significant other has entered my life, but over the last couple of years, I have been a lot more conscious of buying the organic stuff. The stuff I used to make fun of my buddies for buying, I actually have begun trafficking that a lot more. And you actually won't believe this, but I've noted some positive benefits.
100%. By the way, do you hear that in the background? That's the entire audience changing the station as we're talking about fitness as opposed to college football. Sorry about that, guys. All right, let's get into it. So Dallas this week, do you think we're going to get some resolution over the next couple days?
I think we're going to know something about what's going to happen with the 2025 season. I've always taken the stance that I think they should go straight seeding this year. I'll be pleasantly surprised if they do go straight seeding this year. And then the third thing I wonder, David, is like when we're talking like this, do you get the sense that 90+% of the college football public just kind of knows what all that means? We follow it day to day. So I take it for granted that everyone knows what that means. But normal people are out there just living their lives, and it's spring, and they may check in, check out. They're watching a lot of basketball, going on vacation. I'm asking because I don't really know. Do you get the sense that everyone just knows what all the possible formats are, and they just know what the criteria is to get new formatting for 2025 and what the power conferences even want the formatting to be?
Well, it's interesting you say that, because yesterday I'm with a bunch of dads at soccer practice, and like I just make a nonchalant comment about what's happening, and they all looked at me like, and I look at these guys as people who would know, like, what? They're talking about doing that? Like, really? Like, I thought that they just started this new program, and this is like... So, no, I think people who listen to this show regularly and listen to you, of course, they are aware. But those that make up the bulk of the viewers that watch the college football playoffs, no, I don't think they actually know the intricacies that we're talking about.
Yeah, and I don't blame that person either, because if I didn't do this for a living, I may not be checked into it as much. But here's the hard part. So if for 10-second explainers for anyone who isn't familiar, a lot of people looked at this past year and they said Arizona State and Boise have buys. That's pretty jacked up. Why don't we just seed this thing with no auto bids to conference champs? Just give the auto bids to the best teams, period. Okay, which sounds commonsensical, right? So the Big Ten and the SEC want to do that for this upcoming year. But it's not that easy. So you have to get 2 steps into it. You have to get into, all right, this is what it is, and this is the common sense rebuttal against that. And then the next layer is, okay, but here's why common sense isn't so easy to achieve. And it's because we circle back around to the same problem we have on 37 fronts in this sport. No one is tasked with looking out for the best interest of college football. It's just a bunch of people looking out for the best interest of their conference. So the Mountain West Conference commissioner could look at the situation rationally and say, yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense that Boise had a first-round bye. However, that same commissioner is going to say in the next sentence, but I'm not going to vote for the common sense approach because that takes away our leverage. That takes away any right we have to have that first-round bye. So I don't know. The only way they're going to get that thing signed off on, which, by the way, for those unfamiliar, takes I think, unanimity, right? It takes every commissioner signing off on the proposal, correct, including many who it wouldn't be in the best interest of. The only way they get that is to either trade on something down the road or they just hold something else over their heads because no one's just doing this for the greater good of the sport at this point.
Yeah, I agree with you. And sometimes I wonder, Josh, and I know there's bylaws and rules, but I wonder, why do things, we can have a conversation at TexAgs, right? Billy can want to discuss something, and as a group, we figure it out, and we move on the next day, right? We've got our plan. But with college football, it's going to take 7 years to get movement, and I'm not talking about contracts. I'm just talking about, hey, guys, we all see that we need guardrails. Let's put some guardrails in, and let's all agree on it. But that is not how college football works, which is why I was surprised that from year 1 of the college football playoffs to year 2, we're seeing Sankey and the crew all right, we've got to make changes now.
Yeah, there's a lot of convention that never gets tested, so it just remains convention. There's a lot of language in contracts that just remains impenetrable because no one ever challenges it. So I remember when I was negotiating my previous 2 deals with CBS, not to disclose any particulars, but there were things that I was interested in negotiating with them that my peers would have told me are non-starters. You can't even ask for that, or you can't even broach that, or that's not even within their power to discuss. Well, kind of the blessing for me is I didn't come up the traditional way in this business, so I'm almost ignorant to that. So I just almost have the audacity or gall to mention some things. Well, guess what, David? They were possible all along. And after a little bit, just a little bit of kicking and screaming, not even as much as I thought there would be, you start to have conversations about things that you were told you could never have conversations about. Well, similarly, in college athletics, you just kind of have these accepted norms of you can do this, you can't do that. This is possible, this isn't possible. Well, the thing is, you never really know until you press the issue. And if you're Greg Sankey in the SEC or you're Tony Petitti in the Big Ten, not only should you test that theory, but you can test it with the biggest foot in the room. So when you put that foot on the scale, what's the worst that can happen? It goes the way you thought it would? That's the worst that could happen.
I don't think I asked you this last week, and if I did, we'll make it quick. But how do you feel? Because I have different thoughts in this office, right? I think Billy's all for, if I remember correctly, the 4 auto bids. Is he for? I think he's for. And then Olin's against. I'm for it. Where are you?
It's very weird. It's going to sound hypocritical. In a general sense, I'm against it. In a general sense, there's a chunk of me. I think this is where the college football soul is and the heart is over here. So those are the 2 cavities in the chest. I am against any kind of auto bid at my core. But then we're not in a system like that used to be. You remember back in the day when people said, I want to have a 6-team playoff and I want the 5 Power 5 champs and 1 at large. Okay, in that era, that's me just kicking and screaming against that idea because that's stupid. That I want the best teams in, right? Okay, but we're not in that era anymore. So we've expanded to 12, and now we're probably going to go to 14. So you have your regular season losing portions of its meaning, which I want to save at all costs because I care about the regular season more than the playoff. I'm not like most folks. I don't really care about the playoff as much as I do Saturdays in the fall. So I start asking myself, how do I preserve Saturdays in the fall? How do I preserve conference races? How do I maximize the value and the focus on those? To me, David, the only way to do that is the auto bid system or is the automatic qualifier system. Because I look at it now, we got 14 teams in there to begin with. I'm pretty sure any given year, the top 4 SEC and top 4 Big Ten teams are going to be good enough to be considered one of the top 14. And then in the aggregate, if I guarantee those 4 seats at the table for each of those conferences, no one has to focus on the playoff rankings anymore. No one has to focus on whether you're in or you're out. No one's worried about what an athletic director from Stanford on the committee is going to think about your strength of schedule. You're just focused on your league race. And so if you're giving me a playoff I really did not want, I'm trying to get mechanisms baked into it that maximizes what I want in return. And what I want is maximum focus on the Big Ten championship race and the ACC and the SEC, et cetera. And then at that point, I think about what could happen with Conference Championship Saturday. I think about how you could do away with this foolishness we had this past year. And I'm not knocking him because he had a valid point. When people like Lane Kiffin were saying openly, man, not behind closed doors, openly, they were saying, is there enough to be gained from playing for the SEC championship? Like, do I really want to go there? Because a lot of people were saying that behind the scenes, if anyone's knocking him publicly. You do away with that because you have a maximum reward for finishing first or second. And third, fourth, fifth, and sixth probably have the ability to play their way in, and that conference championship Saturday kind of gets reimagined. So out of the remaining possibilities, selfishly, I got to go with the auto bid. I think that's probably best for business.
What about this idea that I think everybody that I brought it up to hates? You get an auto bid until 3 losses, and anything after 3 losses is, all right, then we'll open it up to a committee.
The reason I have a problem with it is because of an exercise we did the other night. You can just take Oklahoma and Texas in the same league. Just take Oklahoma, Texas. Oklahoma plays. Let me back up. The way I break down strength of schedule personally is I have teams put into 8 tiers, and I have all kind of criteria that determines like what tier you're in. I think we have Oklahoma playing 9 teams in either tier 1 or tier 2 this year. Texas is not even remotely close to that. This past year, Florida played a schedule twice as difficult as Missouri. And David, that's not even to mention how disproportionate the comparative analysis is of Texas A&M's schedule compared to Fresno State's schedule. Yet I'm supposed to pretend we're all playing the same sport. And so as long as there's that much disparity in strength of schedule in this conference, I cannot solely value record. Like the retort to that, I know what it is, well, if wins and losses don't matter, what does? I never said they didn't matter. I'm kind of having an argument with myself now, but I know where the comment section goes on this. I didn't say they don't matter. It's not all or nothing. It's not A or B. What I'm saying is in the NFL, I've always believed you are what your record says you are, because the strength of schedule disparity, even 1 to 32, is very minute compared to what we have in college football, where the strength of schedule, even within conferences, because they're so big, is insane. So I don't know that I could back that one because I don't trust the strength of schedule to be roughly similar any given year.
Why do you think 14 seems to be the number? That's the one that I think Heather Dinich was hinting at, that it could be 14, not 16, because we've heard 12 is going to expand. 16 mathematically probably makes the most sense. But why do you think it's leaning towards 14?
I don't know. I think we were trying to map it out the other day. I think with the 16-team format, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not well read on this part, is that the one where there would be no first-round buys for anyone?
That's my understanding, yes.
Yeah. So there may be a group out there. Well, there may be a group that just wants more teams in because that means more money for them. Let's not put it past them. There could be another group that believes it's best if everyone just plays and no first-round buys are baked in. I don't know. I think there are different structures, different formats that they could bake in. So I don't know. I think we're circling around 14, though. It seems like most people are circling around 14. Out of the 2 I looked at, that's the one I preferred more. But who knows, man? I always expect that there's a Ross Dellinger breaking news story coming out of one of these days or one of these meetings where you read it And unbeknownst to us the whole time, there was this secret format they were working on. And it's only after it's been approved that it gets dumped in your lap. And you're like, out of all these possible scenarios I sketched out on a pizza box or a napkin, I never thought about this one. So I always leave room for that too.
I don't know if I understood it correctly, but I think Dinich also had a thought there could be a play-in game for like 3 and 4. Did you see that report that there could be like a way to work your way into those last spots?
Yes, of course there will be. I mean, these are the people that brought you such things as let's expand the NCAA basketball tournament from 64 to 72 to 76. I was at dinner last night with someone who's kind of in the room of making decisions on these sorts of things. Now, this person's a college football person, so I'm not talking about this person, but in a general sense, the message was conveyed yet again. It's not going to shock anyone. Not everyone in the rooms making these decisions cares about college athletics, much less has a love for college athletics. And it's ignorant to think otherwise. These are people who are looking at a P&L sheet. These are people counting beans in many cases. These are people who look at college football sort of as this inanimate object that's just another asset under the portfolio, under the umbrella. And we'll kind of do with it whatever we want to maximize revenue because it doesn't really matter. Well, they're half right. It doesn't matter to them. But it very much matters to a lot of us. But to that person, David, they would see the blowback on having a play-in game. They wouldn't even understand it. They're almost taken aback when anyone dares to push back on this sort of thing. Because to them, it's like, but it makes more money. How could you possibly have an issue with this? It makes us more money.
Sometimes I just wonder, and I think you summed it up well there, Josh, that just where the college football fan versus the business fan, right? And sometimes they're in the same room, and I have a problem with that. I do have a question about USC. Not that I expected to talk USC with you, but I saw a tweet from you, and it made me wonder, typically in college football, and in most sports, when you lose it, you lose it, right? Mm-hmm. When you lose it at a particular program, it's hard to get it back. It felt like Lincoln Riley was losing it. Even this year, they beat A&M in the bowl game, I know, but after a couple years where it felt like he lost it, it seems like he's still recruiting better than he did the last couple years. How is this possible, considering the feel for that program isn't what it was 3 years ago?
Whole new USC. It's going to take a while, I think, for it to take root. I don't know that you really see it this year, but you may. But what's happening there is twofold, okay? Both of these things ideally would have happened the day Lincoln took the job, but neither did. Okay, so the first one is he should have hired the right defensive staff. The defensive staff he has now is excellent, but he didn't. He took his defensive staff with him from Oklahoma. They were bad at Oklahoma. They were bad at USC. Takes him 2 years to hit the dump button on that. Okay, that means you're 2 years into poor development, scheme, recruiting. Your rosters is not worth anything on that side of the ball. So he makes the right move last year, brings DeAnton Lynn from across town at UCLA. Immediately, the numbers shot up. But the thing is, at USC, it's a multi-year rebuild on that side of the ball. So he's already taken care of the moves he needed to make on one side. The other thing was administratively, they did not get ahead of the curve in NIL, which is just mind-boggling, because when you heard the concept of NIL first presented to you, when you heard that the transfer portal was going to be what it is now, and it was first presented to you, you probably thought like I did, man, USC is going to be a runaway freight train. Like, imagine Los Angeles being able to, and they just didn't. Everyone just kind of thought if you say it, it'll come into existence, and it didn't. And only recently have they gone and made the right hires. I mean, hiring that general manager from Notre Dame is a big deal. There are some other names that you probably wouldn't recognize that they've brought in to reinforce the operation behind the scenes, but that's only because they've gotten sign off to do it. And so what you have is you got a couple of aspects, huge aspects, that are just now being put in place that should have been put in place all along, which means you've got a guy that's 4 years in, but we're talking about it like it's year one. We're asking 4 years in now. All right, how long is it going to take Lincoln Riley? Well, if you're not okay with that, you're not okay with that as a USC fan. Like, if you think that's unreasonable, okay. But if you're willing to say, okay, whatever happened in the past, we can't change it. We want to control from this point moving forward everything we can as effectively as we can. it's a good day for you. Because I don't think Lincoln Riley forgot how to win. I think a lot of the factors around him in the sport changed. His surroundings changed. I think he was probably wearing 4 hats, 3 of which he didn't need to be wearing as the head coach out there. And now he's been able to take some of them off and put them on the right heads.
Josh, I want to close out with spring game talk because it's funny how I look at it. From a content creator standpoint, I like it. It gives me something to talk about. Hey, I get to go to a game and evaluate this and that. And it's a bunch of youngsters. It's not, And then there's a part of me like, does it really mean anything? That's like for the fan, I think it's an awesome experience to go. Sometimes they're free. You can go sit and watch your team and get a close up. So the fan experience I get. From wanting a football program to win, I kind of understand programs going away from it. But just because it's always been done a certain way, how dare they mess with my college football? So what I'm saying is, as a talk show host, I don't have like a definitive take. I kind of get it all around, if that makes any sense.
It's not a crisis. It's not a crisis that I've chosen to, burn a lot of equity on causing an uproar over, but they matter. There's a lot of value in the spring game. Now, there's a difference in what we're talking about here, okay? If I'm talking about Mike Elko's ability to effectively win in the fall, I don't think he needs a spring game for it. You could make the argument it works to his detriment. Like, we could quibble over that. But the bottom line is, no, it doesn't harm them in the fall if they don't have a spring game publicized and televised. However, the thing you said first is the thing a lot of people want to gloss over. You said, I know it's a really good fan experience. Well, that's actually it, okay? There's a reason they put 110,000 in that place. And it's not because it's just a sport. No one watches lacrosse out there to the degree they do football. They watch football because they love football, which means at your very core, you're in the entertainment business. You just happen to be a football coach in the entertainment business. You're running a football program in the entertainment business. And I was listening to some folks in my industry kind of just dispel spring games. And their reasoning was, I don't care if they get canceled. I mean, do we really watch a spring game? I may watch one of them per spring. Well, everybody watches one per spring. They watch their team. And a lot of folks are going to take a family of 4 to College Station to watch a spring game because they can afford the experience in the spring. And they can afford to drive to Tuscaloosa or Athens or Columbia in the spring. They can't afford to do it in the fall. Because they're working low to middle income and they're really struggling. And this is the one thing, spring, kind of an optimism-based climate, and it's warm, and we can go do what we can't do in the fall. Well, now, no, you can't. And it's a shame that if you make the move and you don't replace it with some kind of simulated experience, that you just kind of piss on that entire aspect of fan experience. Well, who cares? We're just here to win football games. You're here to make people happy as you try and win football games. Because if you only do one and sacrifice the former, you find that winning in a vacuum doesn't really matter quite as much. This is not me saying they're going to be playing to a half-empty house at Kyle Field if they cancel a spring game. It's the principle of the matter. Because people who think that way, people who think, oh, who cares what the fans think in the spring, it's not just limited to that. They apply that kind of thinking to whether they charge maximum dollars for tailgate spots that used to be free, what your parking and concessions fees are. All that stuff works downstream of that ideology.
Josh, great stuff, man. Thanks for your time, Bubba. I said Bubba.
Appreciate it, David.
Take care, man. Josh Pate on the Buppies Catering Hotline. Appreciate his time. We'll hit a break. We'll come back, chit-chat a little bit about some of that, and then a little bit afterwards, we'll have Ryan Brauninger in studio talk some Aggie baseball. If you have some questions for Bronny about what's happening with the team, current state of the program, with the injury to Gavin Grahovac, tonight's game against Texas State, we can talk about it. All right, so let's talk Rollo Insurance. The difference is real. They're an independent insurance company built around educating you on exactly what you're paying for, doing the shopping for you so that you can accomplish all of your insurance goals. And they want to make sure that you know that they will take great care of you, whatever it may be. And if, let's talk about entrepreneurship. Everyone loves the idea of leaving the corporate rat race, but if you discover the pathway to making that objective a reality, if you're contemplating a career option within the insurance industry, Rollo Insurance Group has one request. Call Keith. Keith Lane is a longtime friend of the show, as well as Chief Strategy and Talent Officer at Rollo Insurance Group. So what you need to do is go to rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs and listen to what Keith has to say. Click on the Professional Resources tab to start a confidential conversation today. The website, again, is rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. Call them up, 888-44-ROLLO. The old switcheroo. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Gilles Rollo Insurance Studio. Ryan Brauninger in studio now because he's got some stuff to get into afterwards, so we switched it. Terrible news. You reported it first yesterday. How did we get to this conclusion? I guess they did an MRI afterwards?
Well, I think we need to go back to the genesis of when this first started with Gavin. This is actually an injury that occurred before last season. And so...
Going into his freshman year?
Yes, about this time, maybe a little bit before this time last year.
Okay.
But whenever they didn't do an MRI last year, they knew he had something going on in his shoulder. They gave him those injections, right, which you can do. A lot of the athletes do it across campus for a lot of different sports. But you can only do that so many times before you really put your future, especially in a ball and socket joint, in detriment, right? No different than doing it to your hip.
Yep.
And so whenever he had to miss, so he played all year with it last year and just kind of had it medicated, for lack of a better term. And so they get done with the season. He goes and starts playing in the summer, and the wrist thing pops up, remember?
Mm-hmm.
So he has that off-season wrist surgery and allows that left shoulder to kind of settle, right? And he's not doing anything with it, so it starts to feel good. But as the season ramped up, in December, January, it started barking at him again. And then I think the play on opening night where he dove at home plate, that really pissed it off. And it's a combination of, yes, he's got a torn labrum in his left shoulder, but there's also, and you're an anatomy guy, like where your bicep connects to your shoulder, that was also highly, highly inflamed. And so when you would see Gavin swing and miss, or when you saw him kind of walk off the field after an at-bat, maybe he flew out or something, and he was it was like he was grabbing his pec, but it was actually where that bicep connects to the shoulder. Now, I don't think there's anything structurally wrong with that, but I do think the inflammation and the swelling in that tendon was really causing him a lot of pain. And so it wasn't about, he couldn't make the injury worse. Like the shoulder wasn't going to get any worse. It was as bad as it could be. But it got to the point where he wasn't himself, and it was clear to everybody that was watching that he wasn't himself. He was gutting through it, man. I mean,
here, I think we're going to see him wince here in a moment. Nick just pointed it out to me. You can see there's, so that's what you were talking about.
Yeah, and so, it's the shoulder, and that's the structural thing that's going to have to get fixed. That's what he's going to have the surgery on, and it'll be a 6-month rehab. But it was also that bicep tendon being so inflamed and so swollen that was causing him a lot of pain on the front side. So
how did we get here? I know how we got here originally, but like this week, how did things accelerate?
Well, it's just, it got to the point where it was affecting everything he did defensively, the way he threw. I mean, it was hurting a lot, and it wasn't something that they could shoot up again. Like you're only allowed a certain amount of those before you really look at long-term damage to that joint.
Yep.
And so Gavin, I talked to him yesterday. He was devastated, as you'd expect. He is such a mature, level-headed kid. And he had worked so hard to come back from that wrist injury that to have an old injury kind of creep up, when if you look at it now, hindsight's 2020, you go, wow, he probably could have just gotten the shoulder fixed with the wrist.
Right.
But I don't think they ever MRI'd it to really know what was going on last year during the season. So, you sit for as long as he did after the wrist surgery, and that shoulder starts to feel better, right? It's not inflamed. There's nothing really barking at you in there, but as you start ramping up to get ready for a season and you've got to exert yourself at full game speed, that plus that play at home plate really exacerbated the issue. So it's unfortunate. I'm gutted for him. He was a dadgum warrior trying to gut this thing out and play through it, but it just got to the point where he wasn't himself, and everybody could see that he wasn't himself. So it stinks. I'm heartbroken for Gavin.
And his dad, I think, tweeted yesterday, he'll be back.
Yeah. He told me on the phone, like, my job now is to be the best teammate I can be. So, gut punch to A&M baseball, to Gavin and his family. But this isn't – the good thing is like he's got another year at Texas A&M, and he's going to play the game for a long, long time. So what was the best thing for his future? It was going to happen eventually, but the way he was playing, the way he was feeling was going to force him to have to just get it done, now.
All right. Before I let you go, what does that do to the roster, the lineup? How do you see things shifting?
Well, obviously it's a massive blow in the slugging department, right? And Gavin he got so much better at third base defensively last year too. He was a preseason All-American. He was last year's SEC Freshman of the Year. This is one of the best athletes on this campus. He's one of the best baseball players in the SEC and in the country. That is not easily replaceable. Now, thank God you went out and recruited your tail off, both in the portal and the high school ranks, that you are going to have some options. And it may change the overall look to the team a little bit, but Wyatt Hensler will slide back to third base. That's where he played every inning of his college career at Penn. He was a third-team All-American at third base last year. So him going back to third base shouldn't be a huge transition at all. Probably more natural for him, and he had really picked up second base. At second base then, I think you're going to see a mixture of Sawyer Farr and Yamal George for the time being, while Caden Sorrell is still on the shelf. And I don't know, maybe we'll get some clarity on Sorrell later this week from Coach Early. But if TK Jr., Terrence Kill Jr. is going to have to play right field, then the two second basemen are going to be Sawyer Farr, who they are extremely high on. They believe this kid is a really good player, and Yamal George, who obviously can do so many different things. I also think Yamal will still get some run in right field too with Sorrell out, because Yamal impacts the baseball. He hits it really, he'd be a smaller guy, but he really impacts the baseball and hits it hard. So that's what I think we're going to see. I think tonight, if you made me bet, I think Sawyer Farr will make his debut at second base.
Okay. And then just let's close out with these thoughts. Like this program, unfortunately, has gotten a rash of injuries.
Yeah, I think I tweeted it yesterday. Over their last 14 games, go back to last year, look at who they've lost and who has missed time due to injury. And you're talking about Braden Montgomery, Shane Sadeo, Caden Sorrell, Josh Stewart, Gavin Grahovac. Those are not only impactful players for this team, they're some of the best players at their positions in the country. Braden Montgomery's a first-round pick. Shane Sadeo, depending on what happens with his future, got a chance to be a top 3-round pick. Caden Sorrell got a chance to be a first-round pick. Gavin Grahovac, probably a first-round pick. Josh Stewart has pitched his way into a draft pick and was, going into the season, your most reliable guy on the back end of the bullpen. These are massive, massive injury hits. And when you combine what Coach Early has had to deal with on that front to start his tenure as the head coach just through these 6 games, along with the weather, and you miss a midweek game last week, it's just, again, I said it yesterday, it's been choppy. And there's reasons for that. Like, these aren't excuses. These are legitimate reasons that it's been choppy. So this team, for me, just need to get as healthy as they can and just play together for as long as they can.
What's the latest with Josh Stewart?
Coach Early said it's not season ending, so 2 weeks is what they're looking at. So we'll see. He was in the dugout on Sunday in shorts with a knee brace on, but he was walking around.
Okay. Thank you, Bronny. Yep. Appreciate you. All right, we'll hit a break. We'll come back with an open segment. We'll get to your phone calls and your text messages, 979-693-1150. Your car wash tradition with a friendly staff and a personal touch is Aggieland Express Car Wash. They've got 2 great locations, and they are Aggieland's first green car wash. They recycle 100% of their water. You know the original location on William D. Fitch, the newest location on Texas Avenue. That's 2528 Texas Avenue South in College Station, across from the Planet Fitness. Both offer all the services you want, from the wash options to the free vacuums, the towels, unlimited monthly membership packages starting as low as $19.95. The newest location does offer a full service wash. So they will take care of all the cleaning, all the drying, all the vacuuming, Armor All interior, all under a completely covered patio. And they have 3 different levels of full service washes. It's a $40 value we're about to give away. We're going to give the first caller at 979-693-1150 a full service wash from the Texas Avenue location. 979-693-1150. That first caller will get it from Aggieland Express Car Wash. We are back here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Look, I know that in the past, Nick, you can chime in on this. In the past, I've been easily triggered. Like, I think I've turned the page. Nick, would you agree or disagree?
Are you talking about
just like
certain comments?
Comments, or just like sometimes if somebody says something about A&M, national media, I've been known to.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Except for my buddy,
again,
my dear friend that people talk about. But like sometimes I get triggered, right?
This is yeah, it happens to the best of us.
Yeah, I'm about to bring up some commentary that I'm not getting triggered about, and I don't think you should get triggered about, and I don't think you will. But I just bring it up for. Did you see what Kirby Smart said about our boy?
I did. Well, I didn't listen to it. I read the quotes. So, yeah.
So Kirby Smart was recently at a presentation for the Nike Coach of the Year Clinic, and I guess he was on the panel, and they're talking to him, and they showed a picture of Joe Burrow, Cam Newton, and Johnny Manziel. And I guess somebody in the crowd, or a question was asked, what do these guys have in common? Somebody in the crowd yelled out, champions. And then, I guess Kirby, trying to be funny, he said, champion of what? Champion of Fireball? Fireball's an alcoholic beverage, right?
Correct.
Have you ever had Fireball?
I have. It's not very good.
It's something you get at the
convenience store. Yeah, you can get it at the convenience store now, apparently.
Okay. So I've never had Fireball. I'm sorry. Growing up, I did 40 ounces. Yeah, I drank the 40. Mickey's. Do you ever do a 40?
I have before, yeah.
Yeah, 40.
I've been to that meeting before.
Yeah. There was one like Saint something. I don't remember what it was called, but Mickey's, Strawberry Hill. That was like my day. All right. I think Strawberry Hill was like when we were 16, whatever. But he's just taking a shot at Johnny's partying days, and I think he did say that they all won Heisman trophies later, which was true. They all did win Heisman trophies, and that they all had a lot of success against Kirby and when he was at Alabama. So here's a couple of the numbers in that. In 2012, Johnny threw for 253, 2 touchdowns, 92 yards rushing. We remember that amazing 29-24 game, one of the best games ever, if not the best game that I had ever watched while working at another place during my show. I remember I was on air and I was kind of watching that as I'm talking. It was great. So, and then the next year, they lost that game at Kyle Field. I was here for that one as well. He threw for 464, 5 touchdowns, and a 49-42 loss. So, Kirby did take a little shot at our guy Johnny, and I'm not going to go I get he's just trying to be funny. And look, sometimes Johnny, the jokes write themselves, but he's our guy, and I don't want Kirby talking about our guy, right? But I get
Especially when he's torched him in the past. His defenses,
From a college football perspective, those quarterbacks, I'm glad that Johnny's in that conversation with Cam Newton and Joe Burrow, right? Joe Burrow probably had the best season we've ever seen a college football team have. Cam Newton, we know what he did. If I were to make a joke about Cam Newton, would we talk about his hats maybe? I don't know, his outfits. Johnny gets some of the jokes because of his partying lifestyle. But from a college football perspective, that guy was an assassin, and he went right at you, Kirby. So, but I don't take offense. Look, he's trying to be funny. Sometimes we say things in a group. I am sure there's going to be some people that are going to be very upset with Kirby. Maybe you can tell him when he shows up to Kyle Field one day, oh, wait, probably won't happen ever because we don't play Georgia ever. I mean, at least here. All right, we'll hit a break. When we come back, we'll go around the SEC. We'll get some updates. I know we got some comments to get into as well. Right now, we're talking Fratello Italian Cafe. Delicious food there. If you love Italian food, you should go. If you aren't sure, I like Italian food, but I don't know. It's not my go-to thing. It needs to be your go-to. Check out Fratello. Everybody loves pasta. They got lasagna. They got the breadsticks. They got cheesecake. I love cheesecake. If I'm going to eat a dessert, cheesecake, I say if because I don't really eat dessert that often. Cheesecake is definitely at the top of the list. They're proud partner of Texas A&M Athletics. And they have a passion for food and for Aggie fans everywhere. If you can't make it to Fratello, don't worry about it. I know you don't want to make the drive. That's fine. They can send it to you nationwide. They've got awesome ways of delivering to you in the comfort of your home, and you can find them every Saturday at the Memorial Villages Farmers Market in Houston. They are owned by the same family that opened Pino's, and they are proud to carry on that great tradition of serving up the best Italian food in town. Come hungry and leave happy. Fritella, it's all about great food and great company. Check it out. Nick, I wonder what intern is going to step up and be like, David, I'm going to the Angry Elephant in Cyprus to help you guys set up, help Nick with everything, Nuño, OB, get you waters, whatever.
Need my beer runner. Huh? Go get me beer.
There you go. You're allowed to drink beer while you're there.
Beer, and then bam.
Bam, beer. Like you put your hand out there. I wonder who's going to step up and be
probably
like,
do that at the Angry Elephant because they're so awesome, but I don't want to talk to the fine employees there. That's no way to talk to people.
No, you just tell them, sir, can I please have, or ma'am, can I please have, madam, have a little beer. We'll be at
Bring me a 40, please.
Oh, I don't think they do 40s there. They do pitchers, probably. I don't know. It's been so long since I've ordered an alcoholic beverage. Anyway, Angry Elephant in Cyprus, Saturday. OB is going to be there. I'll be there, 4 to 6. And Nick Savage will be there, by the way. Good old Nick. So it'll be a good old time. We go to I say that because we go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Reed, what do you have for us now?
So for around the SEC basketball players of the week, or men's basketball players of the week.
Hold on. Am I going to want to hear this?
I can make it good.
Okay, make it good. Make it good.
Well, I just wanted to say that
Because I already know who they are, and it makes me angry thinking about it. But go ahead.
So Mark Sears, Chaz Lanier are both SEC Players of the Week. Mark averages 18.9 points per game, but he put 27 against the Aggies, and then everybody knows Chaz averages 18 points per game, but he put up 30 against us this weekend. But I just want to preface, like, most of our losses, first of all, our 2 losses against them I consider close losses. I know Tennessee kind of got away at the end, but for most of that game, we were right there with them, if not ahead. And then same thing with Mark against Bama. I mean, we stayed in the game with them. So
that was Mark Sears without Wade Taylor back in the early part of the season.
Exactly. And so I thought that was interesting, we take those losses pretty hard, but they're pretty acceptable.
But here's what I have a problem with. A&M, when they're really good, limit the best offensive player on the other side. That dude had his season average at the break. He had more. He had 22 at halftime. So the 8 that he scored in the second half, which, by the way, with great defensive adjustments, he just hit some tough shots at the end. He was great in the last few minutes, and that's why they won. Tennessee was incredible the last 4 minutes. A&M was not.
He also had 0 assists, which I thought was just kind of interesting.
What is he average on the year? Do you have that?
I can.
Because he's a scorer. That's why he was brought in.
It was just. I mean, especially you can tell when you're watching the game, like, he doesn't need to pass to anybody because he can do everything himself.
Yeah, he's a scorer. They're doing okay. Zakai Ziegler he'll set him up just nicely. What else do you have?
So Mel Kiper did a mock draft, or his second mock draft, recently. 13 of the 32 players are from the SEC. We have 1 player from A&M, Shamar Stewart, who is predicted to go to the Cardinals in the 16th pick of the first round.
Yeah, I would love to see him as the 16th pick. And I was surprised because I had seen a couple reports back, I don't know, last week or the week before, that it was possible for both Scorton and Shamar Stewart to be in the first round and maybe Turner to be 3rd or 4th round. But I guess on that particular Mel Kiper report, they didn't have Scorton in the first round.
They did not, no. But the only A&M player was Shamar.
Yep. So I'd like to see both of them get in there. No doubt about that. Any other thoughts you want to get into here before we hit a break?
So unfortunately, TUE did win the SEC men and women's swimming championship this weekend. But one of our swimmers and divers, Jackson Bowshire, claimed the gold medal on the platform, scoring 476. And the A&M's men's team finished 5th with 790 points, while the women's squad took 8th with 566.5 points. He registered 80 or more points on 4 of his 6 dives to become an SEC championship.
Yeah, we're going to have Blaire Anderson, the A&M swimming and diving coach, on with us at around 10:20. We'll go over the SEC championships recap, kind of look ahead, and just talk about how her first season at A&M has gone. And we'll do that. Luke Evangelist coming up here shortly, and also we'll have Dr. John Thornton a little bit after that. Did you or someone you know graduate from A&M within the last 12 years, and are they leading by example in business and in service? If so, the Association of Former Students would like to invite you to nominate yourself or someone that you know for the 12 Under 12 Award. Each year, the association recognizes a dozen Aggies who have graduated within the last 12 years for their business accomplishments, civic or military service, philanthropic efforts, and outstanding representation of A&M's core values of excellence, integrity, leadership, loyalty, respect, and selfless service. Previous year honorees have included leaders in business, higher education, architects, petroleum engineers, nonprofit executives, physicians, veterans, and members of the U.S. Armed Forces. 2025 nominations close on Saturday, March 15th, so be sure to submit a nomination soon. To learn more about the recognition and submit a nomination, visit tx.ag/12under12 nominations. We're about to find out. I'm about to find out what the real Luke Evangelist is like when there's a little adversity, okay? Because, by the way, it's Pounding the Rock here on TexAgs Live with Luke Evangelist, who's our basketball analyst. Luke, you are a pretty optimistic person when it comes to basketball, right? I consider myself as a sports fan on the realist / sometimes teetering on the negativity, okay? When I'm happy, I'm really happy, and everybody knows, okay? When I'm mad, I think everybody knows, right?
Right.
You seem to be more upbeat. The last time this team had a 2-game losing streak, there was a silver lining, right? You went toe-to-toe with some great teams, and you didn't have Wade Taylor. Well, you had Wade Taylor this weekend against Tennessee.
Yeah.
He didn't have his best performance. And the Mississippi State game. So, couple losses. Where is the Luke / emotional roller coaster at right now?
I think I'm obviously not hitting the panic button yet, because when you play in the best league, quite possibly in the history of college basketball, you're going to take your losses. It is difficult to go win on the road and beat a ranked team. A&M had already done that 3 times in SEC play. So when you lose the 4th to Mississippi State and you don't look good doing it, sure, there's cause for concern. That was kind of the beginning of the snowball. And then when you lose to Tennessee, the snowball is still rolling, and you got to beat Vanderbilt to get off that downhill roll. But it's not like these are bad losses. That's what I think is reassuring, knowing that.
I think Mississippi State felt like a bad loss.
Yeah, I know it felt like it because of the way they lost, but
not losing on the road to Mississippi State isn't bad.
Yeah,
the way they played.
The way they played. I know. I try and separate the bracketology sense from what is actually happening on the court. The bracketology sense tells me that teams like that are going to lose games all the time.
Yep.
A&M did not get punished as much as everyone thought they would for that. I had somebody on the post-game discussion after the Tennessee loss telling me this team was going to get an 8 seed. And there's just simply not enough games left in the year for A&M to lose to get anything below a 5 seed. And so right now, A&M is a 3 seed with teams like Wisconsin, and that's just where they should be right now. On the court, though, I'm absolutely a little bit concerned with how the offense looked against Mississippi State. And I know they didn't beat Tennessee, but we would all agree, aside from missing every single wide open 3, the offense looked really good against the number 1 defense in the country. They did.
I'm not willing to go there.
They did. I don't want to say, okay, really good's not maybe the best answer, but aside from putting the ball in the hoop,
which is the main goal of
which
offense.
Is the main goal in basketball.
Just so we're clear,
the offense did enough.
I was happy with the way they
Tennessee.
played.
They got to the free throw line, they offensive rebounded, and they were making shots except the wide open ones you had to make to beat a team like that. So I don't want to give them 100% credit, because the offense you should be making more than 17% of your threes. But I loved everything they were doing inside to open up the perimeter game. They just couldn't cash in those shots.
Reed, I want you to go look through their losses while we're talking here and look up how many times they have shot less than 25% from 3. Okay.
I didn't love that they took 33s. They're 0-3 this year when they take 33s. But I loved the looks they were getting. It's just when you can't.
But don't you think Tennessee wanted them to have those looks?
Look, Zurich Phelps has to make at least 1 of 4 straight wide open 3s.
If I'm playing A&M, I want them to shoot 3s. That's exactly what I want them to do. Because, yeah, they may beat you sometimes, but that's what I want them to do. I want you shooting 3s because what happens with that team is when you shoot a few 3s, it becomes more than a few. But let's take it in parts. First off, for the SEC to really be the best conference we've ever seen, they have to win a national championship.
Yes,
agree or
that's
disagree?
true. Yes.
They've been underwhelming in the NCAA tournament the last few years. Okay, that's one point I want to make. But it feels like in season, no doubt.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I told this to OB at the top of the show. My vibes are low for A&M basketball right now, but my opinion about what they can do in March Madness has not changed at all.
100% agree.
Because this is who they are. If they hit a few more 3s than they do, they win that game. They win against anybody. If they miss 3s, they'll lose to anybody, right? Like if they are missing at the free throw line and missing 3s, had they won that game against Tennessee, I would just feel better right now, but I would still have the same concerns about the offense and the same optimism about how they win games in March. But that has not changed. What has changed is I just feel bad this week.
Yeah, 100%. And it's the fact that they missed 25 threes. And they let, okay, I don't want to say they let Chaz Lanier go for 30. Chaz Lanier can go for 30 on anybody. He's top 5 in scoring in the league for a reason. You had someone drop 30 on you. Your best player was essentially a no-show except at the free throw line. And it was still a 3-point game under a minute left. You couldn't hit a wide open shot. You couldn't hit water if you fell out of a boat. And it was a 1-possession game under a minute left. So the way that this team plays is so ugly. And it's tough to watch sometimes, but they're going to be in every single game outside of when have they been blown out late? Mississippi State.
And that was close. Well, yeah, that was closer.
But that's the one game all year. Kentucky, maybe you can put that in that category too of
Mississippi State's the worst loss.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. Like
so
the way they look.
Twice this year, the game's been out of reach under 4 minutes left.
Look,
this team's going to be in every game, and they've won those close games more often than not. And this was just simply came down to 2 plays at the end of Chaz Lanier hits a 3 late in the shot clock, and Zakai Ziegler does the same under a minute left. And if they would have made 1 or 2 more open threes, it's a win.
You know what I hate about this, though?
What?
It's what we do. It's the if. We do this if. I lead the league in ifs.
Right.
If you don't get that tip in and they negate the...
Yeah, there was that too.
Right. The Aggie sports over the last few years forever has been if Haynes doesn't get hurt, look, if happens.
Right.
I just am not that worked up about it because this is who they are. They're not a great shooting 3-point shooting team. They are streaky at times. They can beat you on a good night for sure. What they'll beat you is what they're great at, right? They're great at offensive rebounding, great at defense. Typically, a star player is not going to go for 30 against this defense.
Yeah.
They made, I think, significant changes at halftime to guard him. He had 8, but they were a much harder 8 than his first 22. Like, I believe in this coaching staff's ability to adjust. I just personally don't love the green light 3-point shooting.
Right.
And I'm not saying you should ever pass up an open 3. I'm not saying that. But I think there were open 3s for a reason.
Yeah. And I think it's a little bit okay to play the if game because when has happened a lot more often than you would think. In a normal season, like, it's okay to say, what if they make these 3s? Because I can say, look at when Zurich Phelps, Manny Obaski, and Wade Taylor all had game-winning 3s after, except for Zurich, Manny and Wade were struggling from deep that entire game. So we can play the if game because when has happened so many times for this team.
I guess we can play it. I'm just saying overall the theme of if they do this gets old when it's a lot of that. But this team, where I agree with you, is they have earned enough good graces that they've lost 2 straight games in the SEC, and they're still a 3 seed and number 12 team in the country. I'm sorry, that's not something to celebrate per se, because I don't celebrate when we lose, but that just shows you how much goodwill they have built up.
100%, and that's why I'm more confident because I know there's another level for them to get to. I will stand on this hill forever. I have not seen this team play a game and I've walked away thinking they just played like 95 to 100% of their potential since the Purdue and Texas Tech games. They have been winning tough games against Missouri, who is now one of the best teams in the country. And I felt like they didn't even play that well in that game. So when this team puts it all together, and it's concerning that we haven't seen it for a couple months now, but I know that when they put it all together on a neutral court, that they can be one of the best teams in the country. We just need them to get that confidence back. And you're starting to see it with a couple players. I know Pharrell Payne only has taken 5 shots over the last 2 games, but the offense has looked much better when they run it through guys like Anderson Garcia and Pharrell Payne. And if running it means just get 1 touch and kick it out, that's okay. If you just give the defense something else to think about, then Wade Taylor or Zurich Phelps jacking up a 3 from the outside, that is an improvement offensively. And that's what I think I walked away with offensively is outside of the 3-point shooting, the ball movement and the spacing and the use of Pharrell Payne and Anderson Garcia, I thought was really good. Henry Coleman didn't miss a shot all game. I thought there were some good things to take away still from that loss. I just need them to put it all together.
John in Cyprus says, best league in basketball history, LMAO. And I think what you're saying, and tell me if I'm wrong, is you're going to have the most teams ever, more than likely, in the NCAA tournament, because the most was the Big East with 11.
Yeah.
This is trending towards a 12 or 13 bid league. But when we talk about the best in history, I don't think you're saying that this league, I don't know, maybe you are.
I'm saying like the regular season that they're on right now, the metrics and KenPom and how these teams are rated Auburn is going to finish the season as like the highest rated team on KenPom in the history of college basketball. Alabama and Florida, any other year, those teams would be a lock for like the number 1, maybe number 2 overall seed.
Yep.
And right now, the loser of that Alabama-Florida game is going to be a 2 seed. That's just how it is. Any other year, Tennessee would be a number 1 seed, a lock for a number 1 seed. They're probably going to be a 2 seed. So it's acceptable to say that it's the best the SEC has ever looked and the best conference that has ever had a non-conference slate like the SEC. I forget what their record was in quad 1 games, but it was the best in not in conference history.
Sure, but I don't know if even argue is the right way of phrasing it. I would say it goes back to what I said earlier.
Yeah.
If you don't win a national championship, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like, do I think this Auburn team could beat the UNLV team from 1991? No, I don't. I mean, who knows? Like different basketball styles, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think about those Duke teams and but we're not talking about an individual team. You're talking about the totality of a conference. You looked up the stat in losses on 3-point shots?
Yes. So in conference play, 3 out of our 5 losses, we shot below 25%. Bama, Kentucky, and Tennessee. And against Texas, we actually shot great from the 3. We had like 50%.
What were the 3-point percentages in those 3 that we lost?
I think, so Tennessee was like 16.
Yep.
Let's see. Bama is 22.
Okay.
And then,
And how many does you have in front of you? How many threes they shot in that game?
Against Bama?
Yep.
We shot 13. We shot 37.
Bama, Kentucky,
threes
and Tennessee are the 3 games they shot more than 30.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I guess back to that. I'm just a believer. And again, it's very hard in game because if you have an open, it's hard to tell a team, you don't have a green light anymore, right? I get that. I don't like some of the threes Wade takes, but Wade is allowed.
Right.
Right? Zurich kind of allowed, kind of, like, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, CJ kind of allowed, right? There's certain guys that but I think Billy's the one who expressed it the best. The Anderson Garcia approach. Take 1 or 2. If they go in, great.
Yeah.
If not, you're done.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like, that's all I want. But, like, again, it is hard when you have an open shot in a system that survives on offensive rebounds not to take an open 3. I just don't like those ill-advised ones.
And I think it was so hard because it's hard to balance that when, look, if I can't put a number on it, maybe a dozen of those 30 were wide open. Like, you could probably pull out your phone and check your stocks or eat a ham sandwich, at least 1 or 2 bites of a ham sandwich before somebody from Tennessee came to contest that 3. When you have a look like that, you can't tell a Division I basketball player that is known for shooting the basketball not to take that look. I know Zurich Phelps, there was that one possession where he missed 3 wide open 3s in a row. You can't tell a player like that to not take another wide open look, because would you rather his next 3 be a heavily contested one? You have to live with the wide open looks, but when you don't knock down any of them, it's kind of like, guys, why are we shooting 33s? Let's maybe tailor it back to 18 to 20. That's when this team is at their best, is when they shoot 18 to 23s.
In football, when you can't run it up the middle, you don't keep doing it.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't do that.
Right.
3 times in a row.
I'm just saying. Like, in baseball, if you keep missing on the high pitch, you don't keep, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, eventually you got to put some guardrails. But again, I'm not going to argue. I'm just having a conversation, watching the game, thinking I don't want them shooting any more 3s. Yeah. But
then it's like Wade Taylor gets a wide open one, and you're like, oh, he's got to knock that down.
Yeah,
and it just again, doesn't go in.
Certain players, I'm cool with it.
Yeah,
Steph Curry can shoot he can shoot from half court, right? It's not always a good shot, but he's Steph Curry. I'm not saying that Wade Taylor is Steph Curry, but in this college football or college basketball world, Wade Taylor's got a green light. I would rather him, when he's not on, kind of be a little bit more selective.
Yeah,
but they're the number 12 team in the country. They're doing it right.
Yeah,
I just think we try to psychoanalyze a game, like, had they not taken 3 less shots, I don't know. If it's not there, but to Tennessee's credit, they took out the middle.
Yeah,
and that's what they did.
Yeah.
A couple other things I want to get into before I let you go, because we're going to do some swimming and diving talk here.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about Vandy, because they're a team that I have not watched closely, but all season long they're a team that, like, they're they're a potential top 25 team. They are a top 25 team. They're out of it, but they're right close, and they're playing well right now.
Yeah, I mean, A&M should be really fortunate that this game is in College Station because Vanderbilt is one of the toughest places to play in the SEC, which is crazy to say. Jerry Stackhouse left that program in like whatever below a dumpster fire is. And Mark Byington came in year one. Vandy's going to make the SEC tournament most likely. They don't have the non-conference strength of schedule.
You mean the NCAA tournament?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Oh, of course they're going to make the SEC. I meant NCAA tournament. Yeah. They're probably going to make that as one of the last 4 teams in. But this is a roster that is built on transfers. They've got A.J. Hoggard from Michigan State. Jason Edwards is a true freshman who looks like one of the best players in the country. This is a team that can beat anybody on any court on any given night. They don't turn the ball over and they take the ball away. They're top 20 in steals and turnovers, both offensively and defensively. And Jason Edwards is one of, if not the best players in the SEC. He's not the best player in the SEC, but for a team that is around 500, he is their best player. He's going for 17 a night. Actually, when A&M played Texas Tech in Fort Worth, Vanderbilt played TCU the game before that.
Oh, yeah.
He had 30 in that game. He had 6 threes against Tennessee a couple weeks ago, and he can really do it all for them. And A&M, like I said, they're lucky that this game is in College Station because in 1 week, Tennessee and Kentucky both went to Vanderbilt's home arena and lost. And they were both top 10. It was the first time they ever beat both of those programs when they're ranked in the top 10 in the same year. They just beat Ole Miss, and this is just a team that can beat A&M, and A&M needs to be careful.
Yeah.
This is a team that you look at the record like Mississippi State, and you say, oh, they're around 500 in conference play. This is a game A&M should win. That is not the mindset that you should be going into this one. Having Vanderbilt is essentially on the bubble right now, fighting for their life.
They have to have this.
They have to have this win. And I know A&M doesn't have the best history at Vanderbilt, but Buzz Williams is 1-0 against Vanderbilt at home. So this is a game that A&M needs to have. They've done a great job taking care of those quad 2 games. You have to take care of this one.
So the key to this one, and I saw your stat that Vandy is not, they're very good at protecting the ball, even though they play at a high tempo. So what's the key to this one?
Yeah, this is a tempo that is very similar to Missouri and Oklahoma. They're not as fast as a team like Alabama that A&M obviously had to play against, but they're going to be quick and run in transition. And it's remarkable that they've brought in a completely new roster that is having to learn how to play with each other. And when you run in transition, we've seen that's typically where turnovers happen. And they've been able to do that at a high efficiency and not turn the ball over. And A&M's defense kind of lives on turning you over and forcing you into shot clock violations deep in the shot clock. And that can make Vanderbilt a little bit uncomfortable because they're used to getting their shot up pretty quickly. So it's kind of going to be a battle of A&M's defense of holding you out and keeping you out of the middle and forcing you to take outside shots against a team that wants to go quickly and play unsettled. But also when they do play offense, they're not going to turn the ball over and be careless. So it's going to be a battle of A&M's defense against Vanderbilt's offense.
I'm kind of kidding. Who's the 3rd or 4th best three-point shooter on that team, and why are they going to have 16 points? I'm kidding.
Probably AJ, but he's a great player. I mean, he was Michigan State's best player for a couple of years, and he's not playing the same role he was because Jason Edwards is the alpha of that offense, but he can go for, I mean, he only averages 9 points a game, but he can go for 15, 16 at any point.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you, Luke. Appreciate
you, David.
All right, we're going to hit a break here. When we come back, we'll do a little A&M swimming and diving with Blaire Anderson. Right now, though, we're talking Caldwell Country Chevrolet. They're stocking up on new vehicles for a wide selection of whatever you want. Big car, little car, big truck, you name it. You can take a short drive to save money without any dealer add-ons, plus free oil changes on every new and pre-owned vehicle there from Caldwell Country Chevrolet. They also are now a business elite dealer, so they can help get vehicles for all of your small business or commercial needs. Reach out to them and let them know how they can help you and your business. It's not a far drive. We're talking 15 minutes. The edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. A short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Talking a little Texas A&M swimming and diving. Blaire Anderson is in studio. We're recapping the SECs and looking ahead to the NCAAs. How are you?
Doing well.
So I asked you at the break how this first year has gone. Just kind of give us a feel for, some of the, when you're learning a new program, learning a new system, but also taking on some pretty great programs. Just how this first year has overall gone for you.
I think it's gone really well. It's always an adjustment when a new staff comes in, and obviously implementing things that we'd like to see in the culture of the program. So it's a growth year, and I feel like the kids have adapted extremely well. They've been having fun, and I think that that's a big piece of it too. I know the coaches have been having fun, and we've had some good competitions throughout the year, and most recently SECs, and really excited for what NCAA has for us.
So you say you guys are having fun. You all are having fun, but like in the middle, can you really enjoy the moment, or is it one of those like a couple weeks after the season you look back, oh man, that was fun?
Yeah, I mean, I try my best to be in the moment and be enjoying the results and the accomplishments as they come in. I also try to enjoy the process of practices and the day-to-day. And it is a long season, but I feel that I've been able to have my feet in the moment where I am, and those small victories along the way have just been very enjoyable. But, me as a person, I tend to look forward and kind of project out into the future, and it makes me even more anxious to get to the next step.
Sure.
So, just kind of reeling that in and living in this moment. This was our first SECs as a new staff and as a combined program. And, when SECs concluded on Saturday, we huddled up and I said, this is a pretty historic moment for you guys, because now you've competed as one team and not as two separate programs. And that was a big moment for them.
Yeah. So, what are your takeaways from the SECs? I think you told me at the break a little mixed results.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, this by far and away is probably the deepest and fastest SEC championship that we've ever had. Obviously Texas came into the conference this year, and they're loaded with depth. So that what that did was made it harder and faster for kids to qualify for finals. But what's really cool was seeing our kids on our team challenge that and go faster than they maybe would have felt that they could have to make those finals and put the Aggies in an A, B, or C final. So there were some people that had better performances and some people that had learning moments for themselves. And, any championship meet like that is going to be a little bit of a roller coaster when it comes to performances or emotions or any of those things. So, our conversation with the kids ahead of time was be prepared to ride the ride and do your best to support your teammates and celebrate each other's victories and be there for each other. And I think we did what we wanted to do as far as coming together as a team. And, it kind of just whets our tongue for the future. I think that there's a lot in store for us.
Let's talk about Jackson's performance. Jackson Bosher captured the gold on the platform diving and with a champion score of 476.25.
That was pretty incredible. And that was the last night. So, we had finished the individual events and then they moved to diving before going back to the final relay. And he had qualified earlier in the day for that final and had some really great dives. And going into that night, he looked so composed, didn't look nervous at all. And he just hit it out of the park. Yeah. There were more 8s, 8.5, 9s, and 10 scores on diving than I've ever seen before. And, when I congratulated him, I was like, were you nervous? And he seemed pretty chill about it.
Yeah.
He's a high-level athlete that's competed at the Olympics. And so he's got some really great experiences under his belt. And I think, the sky's the limit for him. He's going to be doing great things.
How about Connor Foote breaking 3 individual records in the 50 free, the 100 free, the 100 fly?
Connor did exceptionally well. And, for him, those performances were amazing. I think he's got even more in store. And Duncan is our lead sprint coach. He's done an incredible job with leading those men and women and helping them capitalize on, their talents, and also really kind of defining those details that a sprinter needs to be able to walk through a championship meet and be a part of multiple relays and multiple individual events, because typically those sprinters have to be a part of those relays or tend to be. And Connor did a great job of providing exactly what this team needed in terms of speed. He's put himself in the top 10 in the NCAA rankings for many events at this point. So I'm excited to see him turn it on at NCAAs and do some pretty cool stuff.
Is there a name we need to be looking out for that had maybe a nice performance, but maybe it doesn't jump out stats-wise, but you've seen the journey, the struggle, the growth?
Yeah. A freshman this year, Jacob Wimberly, was really successful out of high school. Most of his best performances and times came from 2022. So, 3 years ago. So anytime you're fast as a youth, you wonder what that's going to translate to in college. And he went all best times and everything that he swam. And also his times that he went put him underneath the qualification cut line for making NCAAs last year. However, things tend to get a little bit faster. So he hasn't qualified for NCAAs yet. We do have another meet this weekend here at home for considered a last chance meet, which I'm excited to see what he does. But regardless, he had an incredible meet, showed up for his team, and I think, he's definitely the future of this program.
Talk to us about the last chance meet and ways people can support and also what to expect.
Yeah. Last chance meet is Thursday through Saturday. It's a prelims and finals meet. Prelims start at 10 and finals start at 5. We do have a couple of programs sending several athletes. We've got Cal coming, SMU, Texas, Incarnate Word, Rice, and a couple of other smaller programs for a round. So typically a last chance meet is where individuals get one more opportunity to try and qualify for NCAAs. Now, part of our team that didn't attend SECs, this is their end of season meet. So we would love to see people come out and cheer and support these kids. They've worked hard all year. We'd love to see them swim really fast times and to have some people in the stands.
And then afterwards, NCAAs.
Yep, 3 weeks for the women and 4 weeks for the men. So, those individuals that have qualified and we feel are very safe underneath the cut line are going right back into training. Those individuals we feel like might be a bit on the bubble are going to compete this weekend. But yeah, we have our sights set on being top 10 at NCAAs on the men's and women's sides. And, it's a good challenge for us.
Blaire, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
When we come back here on TexAgs Live, Dr. John Thornton will be here in studio. We'll chit-chat about some Aggie basketball with the Vanderbilt game coming tomorrow. That and more is TexAgs. I told him when he walked into the studio, he makes me feel better about basketball because he explains things, and it makes me kind of understand where A&M's coming from. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Dr. John Thornton in studio to talk about this Aggie basketball team that the worst week of the season, right? I would say worse than the week where they lost 2 against Alabama and Kentucky just because of the way it feels. And yet, Dr. John, we're number 12.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. And, you know, you have to remind ourselves where we are. First of all, arguably the toughest league in the country, and one that's been tougher than a lot of leagues for a little while now, and they're really good. And so we're at a level where the expectation is that we're good. And so it's a good thing when we're disappointed right now because we know we can play better than what we played. The margin for error hasn't changed. You know, you're going to beat people if you execute late and make free throws, and that recipe has to be there for this team, like everybody's individual recipe. It's falling a little short here. And what you do is you can't feel sorry for yourself. Let's go. There's a whole lot of basketball left. These 2 weeks, huge, because this team and Buzz and his staff have expectations of what they're going to do on a national level. And so, yeah, pick yourself up. Let's go.
So I know you can't put a cap. You can't say, hey, guys, we've taken too many threes today. You can't take those open shots. So I know you can't do that because you're not doing the math as the game's going on. I've taken 4 threes. I've taken 10, whatever it may be. But I would love to see that number below 30. I would love to see it to where the season average, I would even like it below the season average of 22.
Yeah. Well, what I would say is as this team has come together, it's a different thing on a given night offensively. I mean, you know, typically, if you have multiple options, then take advantage of those options. And you think about the style of play. You have guys that penetrate, Zurich, Manny. You have a post player, Henry, Farrell, that you can get touches. And then, of course, we have three-point shooters with CJ, Hayden, and Wade. So there's got to be like a chemistry there, in particular in parts of the game. You know, time, score. And so, yeah, I mean, you and I could both sit there and go, okay, stop, guys. This is what I want to occur right now. But the game is flowing, dynamic, and there you go. So after the fact, retrospect, you go, oh, I wish we wouldn't have shot that quick or that shot at that particular time. But that's also the nature of the beast.
So I'm also trying to figure out Manny because I love Manny's game when he is playing at the Manny we saw at the end of last year. We've seen, you know, a moment or two of that this year. We haven't seen a lot of it. What do you think is up with Manny?
It's just hard to figure. I mean, I don't know. I think confidence, having the ball go in helps. I mean, because it'll make you a better defensive player too. You're drilling, and I mean, I'm just guessing, but you know, you go to practice. He practices hard. He's been starting up until this last week, and so yeah, I mean, he's had his chances. But again, I think that it's like anything in all sports. That confidence level has got to be there. And my only thing is just play harder. It'll all come to you, right? One of the other things I think happens over the course of the season, we talk about the level of play, but people understand what your strengths are. You know, your scouting report, you might have been an afterthought at some point in the season. Well, now people understand what makes you good, and they're going to take it away from you. And I think Rick Barnes and his level, you know, number one team in the nation for some period of time this year, and they're very good defensively. You know, they're going to come out there and try to take you out of what you like to do. And I think people have done that, not only Manny, but other people, as they've learned what their strengths are.
One of those might be Pharrell Payne, who did have a rough week. That being said, you and I are aligned in that I want to see him getting more opportunities with his back to the basket, getting the ball.
Yeah, he's a unique guy in that back to the basket, he's tough. He's extremely physical. I love the fact that he's almost stoic. Yeah. You know, I'm going to play. I'm going to be a force down here. Let's go. But he's also one of those guys that can step out on the perimeter and face you up if you're a big guy, and he's got that get by you type first step quickness. I think everybody like to see him in it. And then the other part of it is, I think what has to evolve with him is, because he's going to draw crowds. Yep. He's got to be able to see the floor to kick it out when he's double teamed. He's also got to have that sense of, here comes somebody, you know, that sixth sense where they're going to come run at you from the baseline or over the top. And there's only so many seconds or split seconds where you have the ability to just try to beat somebody, but you're going to have to be looking to where you go with it. So that there's more to it than just scoring. It's him being able to pass out of there. It's him being able to go quick to the basket. It's also him being able to shoot free throws because you don't need to go away with empty possessions.
How do you assess Wade's season? Because I don't know if he's been fully healthy. His numbers are a little down, but I don't think that's a product of the way he's played. I think it's just they got different options to go to this year. But he's coming off a rough game, yet he scored 18.
Yeah. Well, I think Wade is Wade, and he can turn it around in a heartbeat, right? And the shots that he shoots, we've seen them go in. And so the good news is he can do that. The bad news is it's not going to happen every night. Yeah. And what he does, and what I think he's done as he's grown as a player, is how he impacts the team as far as his leadership potential in the nitty-gritty times, right? Defensively, offensively, people on the same page. You got to have more of that with Wade. He can't be worried about the shot didn't go in. It's going to go in, but we still need you to be that guy that consolidates what we're trying to do, and he's done that. How many assists did he have against Tennessee? I mean, right. He makes other people better. And I love having him on our side. But the other thing is, too, to have a point guard that's so instrumental in how your team plays, they know that.
Right.
And they know what he's capable of doing. And so he's going to get the best shot every night out on the floor. And it's not going to be just one person. They're going to hedge to try to keep him kind of negated, whether it be not let him catch it back, whether they're going to double team every time he has a screen. It's a lot of pressure on that guy, And so you have good nights and you have not so as good as you'd like. So you got to stay the course.
So I had a segment earlier today where this Tennessee game in particular does not change my opinion about this team. These two losses to Mississippi State, although they don't feel good, doesn't change my opinion about this team. Had they won, I'd still have the same thoughts. It's going to come up to matchups in the NCAA tournament. When they're hitting their shots, they're very hard to beat. When they're not hitting their shots, they're very hard to beat. This is who they are.
Good point.
And so I feel like the loss hurts because it's just bad vibes around it.
Yeah.
But I still think they're wired a certain way that win or lose that Tennessee game, they're still the same team come NCAA tournament.
I agree with you. I agree with you totally. And the thing with me is it was disappointing because we played very well in some categories.
Yeah.
But we were just average in others. When you play a quality opponent like that, you've got to have your best players playing well and kind of fill the boxes on the categories. Yeah. We didn't do that. Still a ball game. And, oh, by the way, Lanier hit a bunch of shots, and he was open a couple times, but he was contested. The dude had an unbelievable night. And we had our scoring, duo did not. So, like you, I'm disappointed, but you can kind of rationalize how that occurred.
Sure.
Number 6 and number 7, it's a ball game. And, I like what we do. We're different than other people, which makes us a tough out.
Yeah.
Because when you got this kind of cookie cutter money ball, do the different things that you do, we're not like that. And that our toughness, what we wear you out physically, that plays well, especially in postseason.
Well, and I've also said that, more than likely, in the first and second, and hopefully in the Sweet 16, you're not going to be taking on teams that you've been playing week to week or day to day in the SEC.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And the other part of it is that newness. Everybody's familiar now, right? Because there's tape in the can. You played somebody more than once. Everybody sees you. They've seen you last year. But it's a whole new ball game when you take that next step. And what we have to do is just focus on and it's so corny to say this, but focus on what's happening right now.
Right now, yeah.
Right now, are we disappointed? Yeah. Well, write that.
Yeah.
You're at home. Now, Vandy's a good basketball team, much like everybody else in the league. They have their moments. And so, do what you do and don't get away from that.
Yeah.
And then I think we're still growing offensively at what we're capable of doing because we have more weapons than we've had.
So Vandy's very capable of beating you, right?
Yeah.
But you cannot look ahead at Florida. You cannot think about the 2 losses. You've got to. It's not a must-win in the, because I think your future's secure. But it is I don't want to call it a get-right game either. It's just a game. I think we really need to see them play well and win.
The key 2 words is play well. I mean, you play well, you can live with that. And playing well is having everybody integrated defensively because you're going to have to do this. They play positionless basketball, and everybody's a threat. They have 5 guys that basically are double figures, and they put intense pressure on you if they get you in rotation, and they have a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So, you're going to have to play well. And that's the thing is, That's what you want to get to being playing well at this stage, because it's on us, and we prep for this. They've worked for this. They've become familiar with each other over the course of the season. They played an unbelievable schedule. So yeah, let's start seeing the dividends of us, hopefully doing the things that we do and continue to do for us to be successful. Let's play well now.
Play well now. And when you look at this team, is there a guy that you could see, all right, this is where Henry's moment to shine, or maybe it's going to be somebody else, like a secondary character, if you will?
No, what I will say about that is there's people, which I've loved, and you made a point about at different times, Manny got in gear over the course of the season. You know, Wade can get hot. Zurich carried us early in conference with Wade hurt. Pharrell's come in and dominated games, Falcon. Solos absolutely changed games late. Yeah. From blocking shots to rebounding to scoring, making free throws. Anderson and his ability to be a catalyst offensively, make other people better and score a little bit. I'm a little bit different. I just want to see those guys be those guys at the same time. You know, we don't need one person. We need those guys right now. And we don't need spectacular.
Yeah.
We just need good.
But we're going to get a game where I believe, and I've been saying it for a couple of weeks, so hopefully it happens soon, that we're going to get spectacular Wade and spectacular Zurich Phelps on the same, like we used to sometimes get with Boots and Wade. Yeah.
I agree with you, and I've always said this because I've seen a lot of basketball, different seats on the bench. But what I still think, and rightfully so, I think our best basketball is ahead of us. We've had a half where we've looked really, really good, and defensively we've looked really, really good at a lot of periods of time. But let's see us stay the course and know that that is something that's going to happen.
Right.
And look out when that does happen, because then you can build that confidence going forward. Yeah, this is what it looks like. This is what it feels like. Let's continue this.
Yeah, and we have learned that this team does know how to turn it on at the end of the year. We're at that point where I'm used to seeing it by now.
Yeah.
Maybe it happens now.
Yeah.
Maybe it happens here.
One of the things that I would like about this team that I've seen, though, is, and I saw it way in Vegas, is their ability to correct the direction mid-game, where, you know, people will go and run, we go and run, they answer, we have a dry spell. This team is resilient like that, and that's a belief that they know that no matter what it is, and I think that's the frustration part on them. You look in their face, they think they can do it every time.
Yep.
And you know the old Aggie adage, we ran out of time. You know that comes to fruition. But they believe, and that's what, don't ever count them out. And I will be surprised if, you know, we don't turn around and have that kind of attitude going forward the rest of the way.
Thank you so much for your time.
Always enjoy it.
Appreciate you. When we come back, a little short segment here on TexAgs Live. Final segment of the program. We call it TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Reed Neal's got some stuff for us.
So, David, earlier when we were talking about Gavin, we had some YouTube commenters questioning. Y'all talked about how he could have gotten an MRI last season, but they chose not to, and they were just kind of concerned on why they didn't go ahead and do that last season. Do you have any?
I don't have any insight to that other than they thought it was going to get better with time. I don't think they had a reason to.
Yeah.
And I think, having some time off, especially with the wrist injury, I think allowed it to heal a little bit, and he felt better. So that would be my understanding. It was, it was not crippling him so much that they needed to do the MRI at the time. It's kind of how I kind of read the situation.
And then some others are wondering, what do you think about Manny jumping back into things in basketball? You're talking about Phelps and Taylor being our star players who you want to pop off. Is there anyone else like Manny that you think could kind of make
I love Manny's game when he's reined in and he's not sometimes he gets the ball and there's not going to be a pass. He's just going to attack until something happens, right? And I love his ability to get to the rim, but I want him to be just a little bit more controlled version of Manny because he has the most athletic ability on the team. He can get to the rim better than anybody on the team from an athletic standpoint. He's hit big shots for this team just this year. Defensively, he's really good. I love Manny on the floor. I want more Manny, but I want a reined-in Manny. And again, I'm not at practice. I don't know what Coach sees, and we don't know what he's trying to do with that particular matchup. But I think when Manny gets going, this team is pretty unbeatable. Like when Manny's really good, look at what this team has done. Not even this year, just at the end of last year. When Manny's on point, they are very hard out.
No, yeah, for sure. Last year in the postseason, he was really good. What about any thoughts on Hefner? He had some good 3-point defense in the past. Obviously you want to see more of that, but do you think we will?
Yeah, I like Hefner. I think Hefner's had a nice season. I do. He's not, when I think of like the core 3-4 guys that I want to win a game for you, he's not who I think of, but I'm sure he has those games in him. When I think about that, I think it's real easy. There's 3 guys that are like the pyramid, right? Zoo, Wade, and Pharrell. And then from there, one night it is Henry. And Henry's been very consistent this year. One night it might be Manny, right? There are others. So Hefner's had his moments for sure. But that's kind of how I look at it. And then you have those Anderson Garcia games, and Anderson's been very consistent too, but he is the second headliner in the one act show. So to me, it's those 3 guys. Can you imagine a game where all 3 are balling? Yeah. Like, forget about it. And that's part of the thing. They're going to take something away. Tennessee took away the paint. Made A&M one-dimensional, shooting a lot of threes. Credit to and A&M did have their chances. They just weren't good enough. All right. That's going to do it for TexAgs Live on a Tuesday. Tomorrow on the program, Recruiting Country. Kendall Rogers will be with us. Trisha Ford will be with us. Pat Henry will be with us. John Harris will be with us. And Tom Schubert. That and more. Thanks so much for watching and listening. We'll see you mañana.